I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Livingston Parish Council meeting. This is our regular meeting, May 12th, 2022. It is 6:02. Everybody please stand. Mr. Wascom, you have the invocation.
All right. Lord, we take just a moment to come before you and bow our heads and to say thanks for all the blessings and good things you've given us. Through the course of life, help us to lay aside our selfish desires and our personal gains, and let's focus on the things that you've done by giving your only begotten Son, so that at the end of the day we can sit down and know that our debt and our sins are paid. And because of that, we can have peace of mind and a peace in our heart that is unspeakable, and the only true peace that a person can have to help us stay sane in a world of chaos. And Lord, thank you for giving me and this council the opportunity to make the best decisions we can for this parish. And thank you for our friends, and most of all, the love we have one for another. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Mr. Burlinghouse, you lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Ms. Sandy, you call roll, please.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Mack.
Here.
Mr. Talbert.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Delatt.
Here.
Mr. McMorris.
Here.
Mr. Wascom.
Here.
Mr. Ard.
Here.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Here.
All right, we'd like to remind everyone, if you have a cell phone, please turn it off or mute it. Yeah, that one right there. Yeah.
Good timing.
Wow.
All right. Public input. When we come to an agenda item, if you have something to say about it, we're going to ask you to come up, state your name and address. We'll give everyone 3 minutes. We're going to ask that you not repeat what someone else has already spoken about so that we can move this meeting on. We have a very long agenda and we have a lot to get through tonight. So just ask if you please don't repeat. Make it known. We want to hear your input. We want to know what you have to say about it. Just try not to repeat. Presentations, we don't have any presentations, but Mr. Delatt has asked if he could speak a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to say a few things about a friend of mine I have sitting in the audience. We got a very emotional situation here, and everyone can't be on the same side, but everyone does live in the same community. And I want to read a few things about that friend. That special friend of mine is Derek Murphy, a French Summit graduate who's lived here his whole life. He's provided many job opportunities to people who live in our great parish. He has donated his staff's time, along with his time and profits, working for free to have our drainage district function, the one that this proposed subdivision is actually in. Derek has organized and met with various state agencies to find funding, and he's also provided a secretary to record minutes for our drainage meeting, which we all appreciate very much. I bring all this up because I witnessed him trying to walk that thin line of doing his job, appeasing his clients, changing government rules constantly, and the wrath of Gerald and myself. All of that's nothing compared to him losing his standing and respect of his neighbors. I remind everyone, Derek's not a developer, but a professional engineer. He's not once lobbied for anything that would loosen the rules to adversely affect the proposed subdivision in our community. In fact, he did the opposite by proposing 2 lots per acre. He has done his job with humility and honor. I'm determined to stand next to everyone here to defend our neighborhood from our development. I want to praise our community in the audience. They're here tonight. They've been here every night for the past 3 months. I'm the luckiest man alive to have this opportunity to represent your needs. You have worked so hard, time and time again, to protect your community and way of life. You special because who we are. and that includes Derek Murphy and his family. It's time for the healing to begin. We have a lot of emotional stuff tonight, and if we can do it professional, that's going to make it so much better when it's over with. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Delat. All right, item 8, adopt the minutes of the April 28th regular meeting of the Livingston Parish Council.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Girlinghouse. Second by Mr. McMorris. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, at this time, I'm going to skip down to agenda item number 19. This is all be a public hearing. So we are now entering a public hearing. You need to read this by title.
This is proposed ordinance 22-12. This is an ordinance to adopt a temporary up to 12-month moratorium regarding new developments south of Interstate 12 with exemptions for family members.
All right, so we're under a public hearing, so if you have something to say on this, I'm gonna ask you to come state your name, your address, because once I close this public hearing, the discussion's gonna be up here.
All right. Jeremy Idell, 17141 Simon Lane in French Settlement. Appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight, guys. I want to talk about the moratorium. First of all, I want to commend you guys. Y'all have worked hard the last 4 months now on these ordinances, and I know you're moving as fast as you can. But we got a few things here we need to work on still, and I think it's kind of time we take a time out and just figure it out. So, you know, I've been on the both sides of the fence here, just trying to figure this out, and it really hit home with me today. I did a speaking engagement at Springfield High School and at the senior breakfast, and you know, as I was talking, you know, in the back of my brain, I was thinking, you know, what is this school going to look like in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years? And it kind of hit me there. So then nothing's more important than our kids, and I think all of you will agree that. So an issue for me is the schools and how fast we're moving here. And again, I think the ordinances that y'all are proposing and the school impact fees are going to be really good. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time to get there, right? And I think the more time we can take and answer the questions to the public, the more they're going to buy into it, and we can get a compromise here. So, you know, in getting to that, you know, I know we're going to have money, but how much money are we going to have? You know, how much land is that going to buy us? How many buildings is it going to build? How quickly? How many teachers? How many bus drivers? All of that goes hand in hand, and I know y'all thought about that and talked about that, but I think the public needs to understand more. You know, there's a timely article in the Livingston Parish News a couple of weeks ago about a job fair for teachers and bus drivers in our parish. That's the first time since 2010. So that's 12 years ago. So we don't have enough teachers now. So with all these developments coming on, I have concern that we're going to have enough teachers. So we got to have smart growth. There's a bill in the legislature right now that was passed by the Senate basically begging our teachers to come back to our retired teachers. They're going to get paid double. They're going to get retirement and they're going to get a salary to get us out of this predicament we're in with lack of teachers. So our state's telling us we don't have enough teachers. Our parish is telling us we don't have enough teachers. So obviously there's community concern here. So, you know, I think we got to be honest with ourselves. Our school system is all we have in Livingston Parish. Not all, but it's the best thing we have. And if we take away that, you know, why is anyone going to even want to move here, you know? And that's where I'm at. And Gerald, I appreciate you bringing this up for positive discussion. It might, look, we need to discuss this. You proposing 12 months, you know, if someone wants to compromise and do something less, I think everyone would be open to that in discussion, right? But to me, it doesn't matter what, okay. It doesn't matter what the length says. If we vote on it, get things done, we could vote to lift it just as easily, you know, at that point in time. So anyway, I thank y'all for y'all time, and I appreciate y'all's comments.
Thank you, Jerry.
How y'all doing? Thank y'all for what y'all do.
Oh, go ahead. I'm
Chad
just
Idron,
telling him he's next.
9796 Vincent Trace. Couple things, you know, was the last Thursday night I was headed home from New Orleans, and there was a guy on a motorcycle got in a wreck. Called 911. It took the paramedics 39 minutes to get there. This guy sitting there suffering on the road. I'm trying to comfort him in the middle of the pouring out rain. And my issue is, if we don't get infrastructure before we build these houses, I don't want my family laying on the ground waiting for police to get there because of traffic, you know. Paramedics can't get there because of traffic. We need to, like I said, we need to look into infrastructure before we build. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want anybody's family member, you know, I'm talking to this guy's mom on the phone. She's freaking out, crying. I'm trying to comfort this guy. I don't want that to be my family, friends, or anybody for a matter of fact, you know, it's just, we need to be smart. Infrastructure first. I mean, put a moratorium, figure it out, get it going. Another thing, Mr. Keene was a couple meetings ago, you got all upset about moratorium just south of the interstate because you didn't want to build up there. Why is that? Why
You're not 40,000 people in mine and Gary's district.
You're not worried about ours though? You're not? So you're not worried about ours, right? See, you should be worried about.
You gotta address me. You gotta address me.
Well, he should be worried about the whole parish. I know you got district.
You're addressing the whole council.
Yeah. Y'all got y'all's own district, but y'all are council for the parish. Y'all should still be worried about everybody. I mean, I see where you are, where he stands. So that's all I wanted to
This is public comment. Mr. Cecil, come on. Well, I figured that. Jeremy's good at that.
I'm Cecil Harris, 8326 Harris Road, Denham Springs. I'm also on the Livingston Parish School Board. Just a couple comments about addressing what he had said right there. At this present time, there's 9 schools in our parish that are at capacity. 3 of those schools are in the Denham Springs district. There are 12 schools in our parish that are within 60 students of being at capacity. 4 of those schools are in the Denham Springs districts. So there's 14 schools in the Denham Springs district, and 7 of those 14 schools are within 20 students or 60 students of being capacity. You know, that's a problem, because the only way we can build schools is through bonds, and people are not going to, you know, they're not going to vote for millages. It's just not going to happen. You know, personally, we need to, instead of spending money on building buildings, we need to pay our teachers. You know, teachers desperately need a pay raise. Because I'm going to tell you something in a second that's going to scare this whole parish. Now, I want everybody to hear what I'm going to say about this. Right now, we have 1,800 teachers. 692 are eligible to walk out today for retirement. 1/3 of our teachers can leave today. 943 are within 10 to 20 years of retirement. 50% of all of our teachers are within 10 years of retiring, with 0 to replace them. We had a job fair about 3 weeks ago. It's Southeastern. Southeastern normally brings about 300 to a job fair. You know how many they brought? 30. LSU normally, we had the same week they had one at LSU, a job fair. LSU normally brings between 400 and 600. They brought 4. We interviewed 4 teachers. So I'm telling everyone in this room and all you guys that this is a more serious problem than this capacity thing. We're not going to have teachers to teach our kids in 20 years. I'm telling you, we will not have any more teachers. It's not just our problem, it's a statewide problem. So, you know, we got to deal with it. And what's going to happen is our discipline's going to go down. You're going to have more crime's going to go down because of that, and it's just going to be a serious, serious problem. We don't have teachers. Right now, we're the number 5 ranked parish in the state, test score-wise. Folks, that's going to go down. We're not going to have teachers to teach our kids. I don't have to stress this to you enough. Capacity is one thing, but this teacher shortage is a serious problem. And if we don't do something about it now, I mean, this should have been handled 20 years ago maybe, you know, but we got a problem now. You guys can take care of this right now, and I'm pleading with you to help us. Now, you know, we've talked about an impact fee. Mr. Murphy and his staff is working right now on the information about the impact fee. You know, we've done studies, and we're going to have that to you by June the 5th, exactly how it's going to, what it's going to impact. Because I can tell you, the Deer Run down there, just for example, just that one subdivision is going to create 683 elementary kids. That is that's more than a capacity for an elementary school, that one subdivision. So, but anyway, the impact fee thing, for people in here who don't understand what it's going to do, it's going to be for all. It's going to be for drainage, it's going to be for fire, it's going to be water, schools, all of it. So whatever figure y'all come up with as far as an impact fee, and we're going to help you with that. Like I said, Mr. Murphy and putting that together right now. We'll have it ready for you June the 5th, or before June the 5th, so that can help y'all with it. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Good job.
Hey, Mr. Cecil, do you mind taking some questions from the council? All right, Mr. McMorris asked first.
The only thing I heard was the Dillon Springs area when you talk about capacity. So I want to bring the people up to speed where we at on the south side on capacity. And I'm gonna go Grays Creek, 0. We have we can carry no more. Can you go down and tell us where we at it?
I can tell you.
On the
I can
south
tell you
side,
exactly.
so people will know.
The schools within 60 capacity, Albany Lower, Denham Elementary, brand new school. We are within 50 students of having capacity at Denham Elementary. A $20 million school. Y'all want to know how much it costs to build a school? $20 million. Where are we going to get this from? Freshwater is within that capacity. That's another school that would service this down South Interstate. Lewis Vincent is another one that's going to have to service these kids that's coming down below the interstate. 7th Ward is another one. Doyle High School, Springfield Elementary, Springfield Middle, Springfield High, Live Oak Elementary, South Fork Elementary, and Walker Junior High. These schools that are current at capacity, South Fork Junior High, Grace Creek, Northside French Settlement High School, North Live Oak Junior, Levi Milton, North Carbon, and Walker Elementary are at capacity.
Thank you so much for that information for the public.
I have this document if y'all want it.
I do have it.
Y'all have it? Because I have this for you if you need it.
That was great information, Mr. Cecil.
Wait, Gary had it next.
Mr. Harris, we rank 5th in school district. Where are we ranking pay?
Pay, 37.
So we the number 5 school district, and we paying our teachers.
And that's
36 of them paying them better than I would.
That's exactly right. And, you know, we have no industry. For example, I heard this figure yesterday. Ascension Parish is about to get $6 billion from their industry down there. We can't compete with that. Tangible Horror Parish just passed I think it's a 1.5 cent sales. Tangible Horror now passed a 1.5 cent sales tax to pay their teachers $7,000 more a year than what we pay. We can't compete with that. We need to pass a sales tax here to pay our teachers, not build schools. And you know, maybe that'll attract some people going into education if we start paying them more. But it's a shame that we are the 5th ranked parish in the state, and we're the 37th in pay. 30.
Mr. Delat?
He actually answered my question, but being you give me time, Cecil did a great job with the information. He just shortened himself on introduction. I'm a fan of his. And if y'all don't know, he's a long-time athlete, All-American at Denham and Southeastern, and a Hall of Fame in both, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, appreciate it. I just want to make a comment personal, because I live down that way. I'm passionate about Livingston Parish. I mean, I'm the president of the school board, and so I'm looking out for all the schools in the parish, and that's my goal, is to try to help everybody if we possibly can. And you know, I know you guys have got a task ahead of it. You know, we're we got to take care of our people that's here now. We can't worry about the developers or worry about people coming. We got to take care of our folks here now because what you said. Because what you're seeing here with these teachers, I hate to keep harping on that, but it's going to be a serious, serious problem. And we got to address it now. We can't wait. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Cecil.
Bobette Larkey, 17850 M. Guitro Lane. I'm a retired school teacher. I just want to reiterate what Mr. Harris just said. I get called, you can ask my husband, at least twice a month, sometimes more, by principals. Would you please come and take a 6-week maternity leave? Would you please come and teach half a year? They can't find teachers. They have aides teaching some of the classes right now. I went to Frost a couple of weeks ago to pick up my grandkids. The principal says, oh, you know the law's changed. You could come back and teach and you can still make money on your retirement. I'm like, no, sir, I was grandfathered in. I could already do that. He said, well, do you want to come back? I'm like, no. He said, you can come tomorrow. I'm like, let me think about it. But there really is a true shortage of teachers right now. And I just want to let you know, I retired with 27 years of experience with $50,000. That's all I made. I couldn't make it as a single mother on that money.
Thank you. Thank you.
Clint Harris, 8255 Harris Road. I just want to say a quick reminder that it's on this paperwork that you can deny this based on the safety, health, and welfare of the community. Just a reminder, you can do it, whether you're willing to do it or not.
Dewana Christian, 24380 Miller Road. I just want to say that this gentleman, I don't remember your name. Chad. Okay, I have to agree with what he said. My sister had a wreck out on Gum Swamp, and it was 45 minutes before the ambulance got there on a weekday with nothing else going on, and that's before all of this. I mean, what are you going to do when you get 715 more houses? And also, I just wanted to say that if a child has some kind of allergic reaction at that school, there's no medical people out there. We've even went as far a few years back to teach first aid class to the school teachers so that they can respond, because we don't have first responders. A lot of times they work, they're just volunteers, and they're not sitting on go waiting for, to get a call. So I'm a registered nurse practitioner, so I'm just telling you that I get called all the time as well to respond to emergencies because there's no one else. So, and I work for free for that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
make sure it's on the moratorium.
Yeah, we got to be talking about the moratorium and something that nobody else has spoken about.
All right. My name's Jason Dias. I am on 21650 Highway 444, Livingston, Louisiana. As was just stated about building a school, it takes $20 million, right? $20 million. Our teachers are underpaid. I heard that we would have to have a sales tax to pay for that, an increase, correct? I see the word tax and I wonder how much more we're going to have to pay for once all these people come in to this community. The argument is that you will have tax revenue when they come in. I don't like the term revenue when it comes to government because it's not a business. You're going to have more money coming in. But when I look at what's happening and I hear what people are saying and I hear that we don't have enough room and I hear that we're about to have a big influx of kids coming in, and it takes how many years to build a school? 3 years to 5 years? On average, if you're lucky. Southside, what year are they in now? They're going on year 7. So if you're going to tell me that we have a neighborhood coming in that's going to be built and probably populated in 2 or 3 years, where are they going to go? We don't even have the plans for French settlement yet. They don't even exist. So even if we have this neighborhood and it's built in the next 2 years, there's literally nowhere for them to go. So what are we going to do then? I got it. We're going to have to pay more taxes. We're going to have to go to the magic money fairy and ask them for money, right? But I've worked in that realm, and when the federal government gives you money, guess who's in charge of the maintenance? Guess who has to pay for the maintenance? We do. You do. So the school issue is threefold. You don't have the teachers, you got too many students, and you don't have the building. That's not going to change. And that's going to affect us within 3 years, and this tonight is a decision point of what you're going to do. The other thing I wanted to mention was about fire safety. District 8 right now cannot respond to all the calls. Do you realize that? They have to respond to calls and then ask people to come and help them do so. You know what's going to happen when they're rated? Because they get rated every few years. They're going to get rated, and their fire rating is going to plummet. And guess what's going to happen to your homeowner's insurance? It's going to go up. So we're going to have to pay for the lack of infrastructure. We are. So what's going to happen at that point? Well, now we have to have a fire department. We have to have 2 people on staff 24/7. That comes out to 336 hours a week. Divide that by 40, you're looking at 9 full-time employees with benefits. That's $100,000 a year, not including admin, not including the building, not including the trucks, not including everything that goes with that. You're talking about millions of dollars. And the last time I checked your budgets, you haven't been in the black in at least 2 years. So where's the money going to come from? You're going to have to put it on a ballot for taxing. So who's going to have to pay for it? We're going to have to pay for it. Every single thing that's going to be built, and I'm for development, by the way. I really want it to be done. I really, really want opportunities to come here and for us to be able to have things for our children to do, okay? But I just want to say this. Everything is going to come back on us. Taxes, taxes, taxes. And I'm tired of people moving in here and getting rich off my back. Stop it. You can. It's a decision point, and you're going to have to live with it. Can you do that? You heard the truth. That's all I got to say.
Tiffany Meads, 16881 Kinchin Road. The reason why a ton of people are in here right now, and a majority of people are facing above I-12 and with anger, is because not everybody lives in these populated areas. We're rural, like a graduate class of 39. So when you throw this influx of people, it's devastating to a community. We like our rural area. We're not saying we don't want development. We're saying we don't want careless development. So I live on Kinchin Road. You have to take Kinchin Road to get to French Settlement to drop your kids off in the morning. If it rains hard, the road floods. There's a creek on one side, and Jack Allen and Kinchin floods on the other side now in a hard rain. So guess what? Buses cannot go through floodwater. Parents cannot go through floodwater. Acadian Ambulance will not go through floodwater. I had a neighbor a couple months ago, her house burnt down. Our chief of police laid in the front yard having a cardiac incident. Acadian couldn't come through the water on one side of Kinchin. Turn around, go back, go down Dutch, go down Jack Allen, come back this way and come back, and then come all the way up, all the volunteer fire department. You had French Settlement, you had Coyell, you had Sandoval, and you had Killian there to put out a trailer fire in the middle of, I can't say French Settlement, we're Livingston, we're outside city limits. The man laid on the ground while I took his pulse. That could be you, laying outside there. You can't go through floodwater. The infrastructure has to be there. We're asking for the moratorium to put all of this in place. We need it where we're at. If you don't want it for your area, great. I support that 1,000%. You're listening to your people, but you have to listen to our people too. You sit on a council that's for Livingston Parish, not just for Watson or Walker or Dole or Denham. These are big populated areas. You're talking about small, tiny schools, small, tiny areas. We have a volunteer fire department. It's not even our volunteer fire department because half these people live outside of city limits of Livingston. So guess what? We don't get anything from our tax dollars. We don't have city sewer. We don't have city water. We don't have a fire department. We don't have a police department that responds. It's Livingston Parish. If you call 911, they're praying that French settlement's around there to come, but they can't come through floodwater either. And that's from a hard rain. That's not even in the 2016 flood or a random flood every March and every August that happens. We're asking for the moratorium for our kids, for our safety. You throw another 716 houses on us, that's 1,200 plus people. They're going to be outside of city limits too. Guess what? They don't get police department or fire department. It's all volunteers. And you're going to say they're sitting there and, okay, we're bringing more people in, but y'all going to help us here where we're at now. We want people to come in, but we want to do it responsibly. And we're asking for a moratorium. Help us.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
One more,
Oh, yeah.
maybe two more.
Bobby Waters, 23475 Carter Trace, Springfield. I wasn't going to say anything, but all these people bringing up good points. I mean, even if they're on opposite sides, they're all good points. I went to school here. My wife went to school here. All four of my kids graduated from here. I get it. And something needs to be done about the flooding and the drainage and overpopulation. I get that too. But I just want to put this in the council's head. My daughter went to school for, a lot of y'all know her, for, 4 years, graduated in teaching. She went to East Ascension because they paid her $7,000 or $8,000 more. Finally got a job at Walker, and now she doesn't even teach because we don't pay them nothing. What did somebody say a while ago? 5th in the state, 37th in pay? My kid went to East Ascension for $7,000 a year. I mean, so I get all that. But I'm going to put a couple things in y'all's head. We own Carter Plantation and Greystone. You put a moratorium on the south side, you just made our property worthless. I mean, the Lockharts and I have several $1 million invested in this parish. And for y'all just to say our land's worth nothing now, it's a hard pill to swallow. Again, 100% agree something needs to be done. I mean, 100% agree. I mean, I flooded. I mean, all of Greystone flooded. So I get it. And y'all had a thankless no-win situation. I mean, I get that. I know it. Y'all can't win. At best, you're 50%. And in this room, you're probably only a third right. I mean, so I get it. Let me see if I got everything else. Springfield was going to get a school, and they turned it down, right? If I remember correctly, somebody telling me. I think that would pass it right now. So if people got to pay more taxes, he said it's a statewide problem, this overcrowding. Of course it is, but they got to go somewhere. I don't know where they're going to go. New roads? I don't know. But they got to go somewhere. So just think about what you're doing, though, to landowners. And I'm not saying first of all, I'm not in support of a moratorium, but I am in support of something being done. And if you really say it's temporary, I would be in support of that because I know you guys got to do it. But 12 months? I mean, that's crazy. But y'all have, like I said, you're in a thankless job. And that's why we elected y'all to do the best that y'all can. And I know y'all talk and try to do the best you can. And I appreciate all y'all's effort.
Thank you, Bobby. All right, we're going to close the public hearing on this. Oh, you snuck in on me. You snuck in on me.
Yes, I was trying to be quiet. My name is Melanie Stewart, 17539 Morales Lane, Livingston, Louisiana. I just heard the developer up there, and I'm like a lot of people in here. We're not against development. We're against this huge monstrous development that's going to tear up our parish and change how we live and how it's not done responsibly. Like, there is no reason. I was listening to our parish president saying he's not going to support a moratorium. And it's like, how can he not even support that? But y'all haven't even brought it to it. He wants the 2.5 instead of the 2.0. Y'all are doing a great job trying to come up with this stuff, and he's vetoing it. And I know that y'all could even change that. Y'all could override his vetoes. So I don't understand why most of the people in here, y'all are trying to support and trying to help out. And I understand that. And I think everybody else in here understands that. But you got to be able to stand up to even the parish president if it's right for this parish. It's not like it's not going to happen, but it has to happen responsibly. Like, there's nothing wrong with so you get to make $3 million in a year instead of tomorrow, which may cause flooding for somebody. Give it time so that you could do the studies, do the drainage, get the infrastructure in, and then let them make their money. I mean, that's just all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to close public hearing. All right, so the public hearing is now closed. So any comments from the council on this? Anybody want the floor first? One of y'all want to go first?
So I'll go ahead and go since I introduced the moratorium. Hey, I'm Gerald Matt Morris. I represent District 6 if all you guys do not know. All right, so like I told y'all several weeks ago, my moratorium is about 85% complete with all the changes we have made already. All right? So there's still stuff in here that we have to put in place to make sure we protect the people outside these subdivisions. Everybody on this council knows we only go up to the boundaries. And the boundaries is what worries me. 16, give me a show of hands in this room. Yeah. I think everybody in this room has somebody affected, right? I know I did. All my family did. But we're not going to go to 2016. We're going to go to 2021. And this is just a prime example, if you can show the camera, please. That's Acosta Lane. And I'm not knocking that subdivision is coming, but this is just one that I did research on because it's coming to our parish. All right? So just want to give you an idea of what we have to do upstream and downstream to make sure we don't flood the people that's already here. This is Highway 444. That's not 2016. That's in May of 2021. We should be in a time in life right now where we don't affect other people downstream or upstream. That's what we have to work on. Everything else is going to be captured in these ordinances that we're putting in place to capture the school board fees. It's going to attach the fire department fees. It's going to attach everything we need to put in place. Just give us time. I'm begging you guys. Give us time to be able to sit down like we have in the last 30 days when we have made all these changes. And we have did a heck of a job. Half of us argue all night, and then we hugging next night. We made headway. I'm begging you guys, give us time to make sure we protect everybody in Livingston Parish. Hey, I did it for the South Side because I didn't know. I'm not with y'all every day. I don't talk with y'all guys every day. I did it for the South Side because I know the South Side. The North Side wants to get in, I say let's go for it. And that's going to be to protect Livingston Parish. Hey, do I like people up in Watson? Heck yeah. I got a lot of kin people up there. You just sit there and say you don't like people on that south side? That's not right.
I don't think
all right? I know you joke and play,
Yeah.
but a lot of people in this room take you serious. Because I took you serious for a long time. And got me fighting mad a couple times. But understand, let's pull together here and let's put this moratorium together for a couple of months for extension for the whole parish. At least we got something to work off from. Because if we don't pass that, it's going to go before Leighton Ritz and he's going to veto it, I promise you. All right? But we got something to work with here to get us started.
We're close.
All right?
We're close.
So you guys think about that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Black?
Mr. Chairman, we all know what we got to do. My questions is going to be how the length of the moratorium and who's going to be in it. Can we make amendments on that? We can? Okay. I'm going to defer to Councilman Mack.
Is that okay,
That's good.
Jeff?
Yes.
You ready?
Yep.
I'm going to try to communicate without getting emotional to the best of my ability, and don't make fun of me, Scooter.
Pull it, G-boy.
I'm going to start this off by, I'm going to go as fast as I can with this, Jeff, but I'm going to start this off by saying I fully support the 12-month moratorium. However, I would also like to say that I'm extremely proud of Gerald McMorris. That man's got an extremely big heart, and he is not afraid to stand up for what he believes in. In saying that, it's not a secret. It's been publicly communicated that the leader of Livingston Parish Administration, the parish president of Livingston Parish, is not in favor and will not support a 12-month moratorium. Therefore, if this council tonight votes in a 12-month moratorium, it will be vetoed. And I am very confident of that. In saying that, what I feel, with that in mind, that we should do tonight is that we should amend this ordinance, right? And we should, the length of time for this moratorium should be 60 days with a some type of language in there that gives us the ability to extend it if we're not able to modify our ordinances and get them where we would like to see them before these developments are approved. Okay? So I would like to make that motion that we vote to amend this ordinance, this moratorium ordinance. Let's put a moratorium on subdivisions with and without developments. I mean, with and without improvements. This is subdivisions with and without improvements. Okay? We got that? Okay. This is a moratorium.
That omits the minor subdivisions,
That's
right?
correct. This is for subdivisions with and without improvements. Okay? Okay. It's going to be 60 days with an option to extend it to no more than 90 days.
So an option to go 30 more days.
An option to go 30 more days if necessary or needed.
By resolution.
Yeah, by resolution.
By resolution.
By resolution. Okay, we can extend it by resolution. Okay? I appreciate everybody's passionate statements and comments. We do realize the seriousness of this. And I would also like to say, and I almost forgot, that this needs to be amended to cover all of Livingston Parish. This would be a moratorium for the entire parish. Okay? So I appreciate y'all, Jeff. I appreciate you giving me the floor, Randy. I'm proud of y'all. Y'all keep up the good work.
Now, before Mr. Girlinghouse had something and Mr. Keene, I will let y'all know that I spoke with Mr. Ricks today, and he assured me that he would not veto a 60-day moratorium. He would not do it.
What about the extension,
Well, that's going to be we'll go to him if we need it. I mean, if we get everything done, there's no need for the 30.
Whatever, if he doesn't veto the ordinance as it is, then it is.
Yeah, it is.
So if we
Yeah.
have to extend it.
It's all going to be tied together, so.
But, I'm sorry, Randy.
Yeah, that's-
Okay. I agree.
Was there a second?
I agree with.
Was there a second for the,
Well, no, I just want to comment to him in order so
second.
maybe he can make, John seconds it?
John seconded it as
Okay.
the way Shane said it, so hold on. Go ahead.
All right, so if we're going to do, go ahead, Mr. Hill.
No. Oh.
Comments over.
He's our planning director. He's not public.
Sam DiGirolamo, Livingston Parish Planning and Public Works Director. I've got one question. We've got a few developments on here that is asking for a revision, a reduction, that's already been approved here maybe a month or so ago, and now they got to come back to the council to get it approved once again to reduce their lots. is this moratorium gonna,
New development only.
It can't affect the planning recommendations from tonight. Chris
No,
says no.
no, it's not.
you're gonna say new development only?
And the moratorium doesn't take an effect until he signs it,
15 days after.
15 days after.
Okay, yeah, so we'll hear those tonight.
Okay, so when I present these things, I'll go through our commercial development.
All of it, Sam.
And we'll just, we'll kind of segregate them from 1 through 10, ever how many we got. Okay? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Sam.
All right.
We appreciate that.
All right, since I let Sam, I gotta let you. I mean, you're the permit director, so.
She just wants to be on TV.
Randy said that, not me.
He's got I want a clarification from my office as far as building permits, so there's no confusion with anybody. Anything from this point on, what about people coming in, pulling permits, building permits in existing?
That's
Okay.
what I was
I
going
think
to,
it should be everything.
Yeah, it's gotta happen.
that's what I was going to say.
So no building permits at all until
We're gonna-
we,
On approved subdivision?
No, that's wrong.
Guys.
No, that's
We
wrong.
gotta go through.
Let the attorney speak and
Yeah,
tell us. Let the
yeah,
attorney.
please.
Yeah, let's see how you could have a moratorium on existing approved
No.
No
subdivision.
way, yeah.
Well, not existing, anything new.
Well, that's what she's saying, though, some that's already there, and they come build,
They
pull
want
a building permit.
Building permit for Carter Plantation, you can't stop that.
No, yeah, I'm just saying anything new.
Yeah.
Anything new.
No, DD, it's
Just new subdivisions, new developments.
anything from. after
Anything
tonight,
Y'all, it's,
I'm confused.
Jeff, can I say something there?
Subdivisions or subdivisions with what?
Subdivisions
Without-
with and without improvements.
So that does not mean anything existing.
Exactly. So,
But
Jeff, can I
if
say
it's-
something?
Go ahead, Shane.
Guys, we need to get interpretation from Mr. Moody, but it's to my understanding, this is not a moratorium on building permits.
Correct.
This has nothing to do with building permits. This is a moratorium on subdivisions with and without improvements, okay? So existing subdivisions that have already been approved
we can
and
issue permits in
accepted,
there.
you can permit that. You know, any type of building permit, you know,
Shane,
commercial.
Shane, what if we make it anything that pertains to section 125?
For the moratorium.
Guys,
I don't think you can do that.
I want to ask Chris about that.
Go ahead, Gary.
So, you know, we have, this moratorium, as it's been introduced originally and then just introduced tonight, addresses subdivisions with or without improvements. It doesn't address commercial. It doesn't address, you know, small, minor resubs. And I'm wondering somewhat if it's not discriminatory, and I'll tell you why. Because if you go look at, let's just look at Epic as an example. Epic Pipe on Highway 63 took up 80 acres of land that was pretty much mostly wetlands. Land was mitigated, commercial building was built. It affected, I mean, it basically affected the 80 acres. 80 acres were occupied, and it affected drainage around that area, you know, with respect to, you know, it was, I mean, the drainage impact study was done, retention was built, just like would be on any other subdivision, but we're not concerned about that because it supposedly, you know, creates taxes and jobs. However, that's an ITEP, and 90% of the taxes are given back to the company as incentive to come build. Yet if you look at a given subdivision, mainly the one that's brought all this about, was 617 lots with a $250,000 price point per house, that if you build all 617, you're looking at $125 million worth of taxable deal. I'm just trying to figure out how you can say we're gonna address subdivisions with and without improvements, some of them that could be significantly smaller than a commercial development. Yeah, we're not gonna impact commercial developments when they affect drainage just like anybody else does. Not to mention, we're gonna say that if I own a piece of land and my son wants a lot, I'm able to cut it out. Well, guess what? I don't have any family land. If my son needs a lot to go build a house, he's got to go buy a lot in a subdivision. But we're going to stop the development of subdivision so my kid doesn't have the ability to go buy that lot. I mean, we're you know, picking on a particular group And when everything, trailer parks are addressed in 125, commercial developments are addressed in 125, multifamilies addressed in 125, subdivisions with and without improvements, minor resubs are all addressed in 125. We're working on 125. The purpose of the moratorium is to get 125 straight, yet we're not going to address everything that's being affected by working on 125. And we've got a list. We had a list of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. We talked about when it was originally introduced that there were items in a 12-month moratorium that weren't going to be addressed in this list. I mean, to put a moratorium in place, you need to identify the problem and you need to find a solution. So there's been this list identified that we need to address. Yet, we can't address some of the items on this list in 12 months. There are a couple items on this list that we're not even capable of addressing. They've got to be addressed for us by somebody else. Density adjustments we've addressed. Subdivision construction specifications we've addressed. Stormwater detention we've addressed. Fill we have tried to address, and some of the councilmen who are sitting on this council who want dirt fill and want to use that as a means to create a moratorium sat on that front row before they were elected and blasted us who sat up on this chair about dirt fill.
Was it me?
So I'm not. You didn't sit on that front row, so I didn't call a name. What I'm telling you is that we create a list of stuff we need to address. But we don't want to really affect everybody. We don't want to address everybody. We don't want to really impact everybody. We just want to pick on the subdivision.
Mr. Chairman, I like to be here.
Wait, I'm not.
Well, you direct it to me, maybe you ought to.
Hold on.
When I get through,
let him finish.
when I get through,
Hey. Go ahead, Gary.
Go ahead, Gary.
drainage impact fee. This council talked about trying to impose a drainage impact fee, and our council legal representative told us without a study for justification, we can't do it. So that item won't be addressed in a 24-month moratorium, probably. The school board and fire district are going to be.
Why not?
The school board and the fire department have got to come from somebody else that we have no control over. And then the sewer and water impact fee, I mean, some of those are commercial entities that don't even apply in this particular situation. All I'm telling you is if you want to impose a moratorium, identify the areas you want to address, and then create the time to match it. And then if we're trying to fix 125, then everything 125 governs needs to be affected by the moratorium. So look at your list. Look at your list. You better be able to have your duckies in a row that this thing stands legal muster. And I think Mr. Moody will talk to you about that.
Okay.
That you need to identify the problem, you need to find a solution, you need to have a time frame. And this list that we have here, be careful how you edit it because most of it's been addressed already. That's all I got to say.
Okay, Mr. DeLatte.
Mr. Chairman, hey guys, we can go on and on discussing back and forth, okay? I'm gonna try to keep it short. No matter how messed up that analogy you just gave, Gary, has nothing to do with the moratorium. The moratorium does not say everything in 125 has to be adjusted or affected. And that's the point I think you kept trying to make. The point that we want to make is that the density problem and infrastructure problem in Livingston Parish is a real problem. It's not a development problem. It's not a problem for the people that's living in single-family home. It's a problem for everybody. A moratorium is what a moratorium is. It's a cease of development. Commercial development is not included in those subdivisions that bring 2,200 homes, 3,000 homes. Those are the things that brings the student. A commercial development does not bring all those students, all those homes in here. That affects the infrastructure. All those acres and acres and acres of these lots of these big subdivisions affects the things that we want to address. for you to try to redirect the conversation and saying it's illegal to have a moratorium, then it makes you wonder why every parish can have one except Livingston. Makes you wonder why Livingston. Makes you wonder why the town of Livingston could put one up in just a hurry because they got to inquire about 245 acres that came about and a certain name developer. Makes you wonder why Denham does it, the biggest city in the parish. They all can't be wrong and you're right. That just don't make sense to me. I think a moratorium is a way for cooler heads to prevail. We may never agree one-to-one all the time, but it's a chance for cooler heads to prevail. And if the parish president is willing to give you 60 days, I think you're going to take that opportunity and to do that. I'm not going to go on all the things but one thing I want to say, I'm still against the field ordinance, by the way. But I will relinquish my chair.
All right. Mr. Gerlinghouse?
So, Mr. Ladd, and I'm not being confrontational at all, so I really am not.
You usually are, though.
I know I am. But I'm just saying that I'm going to ask this, and it's, don't read into the question I'm about to ask. So, if an individual wants to come and clear a piece of land during this moratorium, can they do that? And if the answer is yes, then how are they different? I mean, effectively, they're still affecting it.
All I know in my heart is the intent of this moratorium is to figure out subdivision regulations that we can go ahead and have what we say. We talk all the time, every one of us, about smart development. Yet our actions don't do that. So all we want to do is sit down. What's wrong with sitting down? Nobody's against this.
I'm not being confrontational.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear your view on that.
We're talking about, I guess I didn't understand the question because I didn't hear subdivision in the question.
Well, no, I'm just saying if a subdivision affects an area, then an individual piece of property still affects that area, even though it is
it a subdivision
minute.
that you're asking or not?
No,
we're
I'm
talking
talking
about subdivision.
Well, we're talking about the difference
talking about
between just subdivisions or everything that's pertained to
And
the
I look,
25.
I'm not saying which way I fall on that. I'm just saying, I'm asking you, do you
My personal
recognize
feelings.
that someone clearing a single piece of property still affects the area? Or are you just saying, let's hit the subdivisions and we're going to give a break for those people? And then again, I'm not saying which side, how I feel about that either way.
The
I just
moon
want-
affects the area, y'all. I'm a farmer. Everything affects everything, so I'm not sure what you're saying. Do you think we should put clearing property into the moratorium? Is that what you're saying? I'm not clear.
Thinking that if you're going to make the argument that we need to stop subdivision development for a plethora of reasons, then you have to acknowledge that an individual, as much as I don't like it, that still affects the area. So if you do a moratorium, I would say it still affects it. You can't have it both ways.
I don't
Now,
understand.
look, I mean,
I don't understand.
Hey,
I'm not
look.
intelligent enough.
Public comments over. Y'all got to look. This is what we're supposed to do, is discuss this.
I'm not intelligent enough to understand that.
look, 60-day, I can tell you right now, 60-day moratorium, I'm good with. I'm good with it. And I will vote that way. I just want to clarify who we are affecting and who we are not affecting, and that's what I'm trying to say. Who are we not affecting?
So if you'll go back and read my ordinance that I put in there, I said anybody but the family members of a family member, right? So go back and look at what I put on mine, but mine's no good no more, so we already had a second, right? But Mr. Talbert wants to bring up, how he supported the whole moratorium. You did. You looked me in my eye and said, I support a moratorium, which I just can't understand it, Mr. Talbert. But guys, we have something now we can work with. Quit throwing kinks in this and let's get to the page. But I understand his point, no doubt.
I'm not trying to, that's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to understand what I'm voting for, because I'm good with it.
Let's call for a vote.
Well, that's a motion for the previous question. You either have a vote or have a vote on the previous question.
Call for a vote has happened, so if If you got something you want to say, you're going to have to ask for a vote to continue discussion. So you have,
I just had a couple of things I'd like to say.
And he needs to make a motion.
make a motion to
Extend the
continue
debate.
discussion. So, G-Boy, you want to make that motion? So G-Boy makes the motion to continue discussion. Mr. King seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? All right, Mr. Harris, you have the floor.
I'm known as Bubba Harris. I'm raised in Livingston Parish, down 4H Club Road. I'm one of the few people in this parish that was actually born inside the city limits of Denham Springs. In the 80s, I ran for the police jury and was elected. Also in the 80s, I was standing where 4H Club Road and 190 would come together. Guess what was happening that night I was standing there? There was water going across 190 into all the subdivisions down that way. It flooded everything. This is not a new problem that we're having. The thing is, we tried in the 80s. I served 8 years. And we tried in the 80s to help correct this back then. And every time we'd bring it up, we'd get voted down. So eventually you just give up and say, well, the people don't care. They don't want it. So if you could go back today and make all those changes back then, we wouldn't be having these problems today. And look, I'm 73 years old. So I've seen a lot of flooding, a lot of it. Didn't like it then, don't like it now. But some things you just can't do. That's
Any more?
Mr. King?
Yeah. G-Boy, I looked you in the eye and said I support a moratorium for the entire parish, and I will. I think it's important that we get this right. But I also think that by putting a 60 to 90 day on everything, it's not going to change the world. We're not trying to water down. We're trying to make it greater than what y'all want. We want to do it on everything. Every single square inch needs to be shut down for that 60 days while we get it right and then move forward. We can all get this right. We're not going to get it perfect. You know we're not, but we can try. And we'll get there together with the input of these folks and all these people. We've been listening to them. We're making major changes that never been changed before in the history of Livingston Parish, and we're doing it. So I think that's what we should do.
Let's call for a vote
then.
then.
On everything.
Mr. Art,
Oh, I'm sorry.
just want one clarification. The wording of this ordinance includes this language that as of the effective date of this ordinance and up to 12 months, subject to the amendment, on any future subdivision of property, both residential and commercial development. This includes the acceptance, approval, and completion of pre-applications for the submission and acceptance of preliminary plats for subdivision. It clearly applies to subdivision. You could also argue it would apply to any other subdivision, including a commercial development or multi-family. So be aware that that could be construed to include all of that too. If you want to restrict it to just subdivisions, then I suggest you need to change that language slightly.
I got a quick question. Apologize. Can I ask one quick? Where did you read that? Where?
Therefore be it ordained.
What about the ordinance?
19.
Well, I think the intent there, and I could be wrong, we need to clarify, but, I mean, this is for subdivisions with and without improvements considered to be a commercial development. I think the intent there was just for subdivisions with and without development.
I think that language was probably brought over from the Ascension ordinance, to be honest. So I don't know for sure that was considered, but.
Not to include commercial.
In our ordinance, isn't that commercial development subdivision? Isn't that commercial?
It's residential, ain't it?
Yeah, that's a commercial development is included in your subdivision ordinance. So it could be a dollar store. I've always thought that was the wrong place to put commercial development, is within your subdivision. But it is a subdivision of property often. You're selling off an acre to the dollar store people, so you're cutting off a smaller piece from a bigger piece. So that is a subdivision of sorts. It
So-
could be a commercial subdivision, or it could be residential.
Can I ask him a question? Yeah. Mr. Moody, is that something that could be amended out? Or
It
you'd
could be
have to-
admitted now or even
Yeah.
later, I suppose.
Okay. You want to amend that out in your motion?
Eliminate commercial development.
We got a motion and a second.
Yep.
And Shane made the motion
Yeah.
and somebody seconded it. Is somebody gonna make a substitute or
This
gonna call the
ordinance,
question?
my motion, this ordinance was the moratorium on subdivisions with and without improvements.
That would be included then by your amendment, would also affect that language, I think, so.
Right.
So it'd be all right?
Yeah, you include that as part of the amendment. We'll make sure that's amended in the original.
Did clerks understand that?
So Chris, if I'm wrong, just tell me, to do a moratorium, don't you have to have a defined
It's written here.
objective?
Yes, sir. Moratorium, law and moratoriums they're not illegal. They are
I wasn't
frowned.
they illegal, I mean,
They are
what's-
frowned upon. They are a harsh remedy. They are allowed for a temporary period of time when you identify a very emergency need for the health and safety of the community, and you have a plan to deal with and rectify the problem so that it's not an open-ended moratorium. So the longer you have it out there, the more subject it would be to a challenge, the harder it will be to defend. I doubt you would have any problem with a 60 to 90-day moratorium, even up to 6 months. You get beyond that, I can't guarantee you wouldn't have a successful challenge to it.
We've got 8 items listed on here as being the reason. And we acknowledge that some of these are not even under consideration at this point in time. Do we need to amend that stuff out?
I think all those are pretty good reasons. Are you telling me you're not dealing with all those things?
Yes, we are.
He's not, but we are. We are.
I think he is.
That's funny, Randy, because I'm pretty sure the ordinance that addressed density and drainage was written by me, not by you.
Well, I don't know. Which one passed? Which one you told me? Garrett, it seems like you got something.
Hey,
It seemed like something
Let's
bothered
don't
you.
go there.
It really seems
Let's
like
don't
something
go there
bothered me
neither.
today.
Let's
No,
keep
really.
it,
If
keep
it
it to
is,
this.
I need to apologize, Gary. Is that what it
We
is?
good, we good.
Well,
We
you
good.
need to act like a professional over there.
All right.
Act like a professional.
So I think the thing is, we're all in agreement. We just want to make sure that we get it
Yeah, I
right.
think Shane's
We
amendment
want to make sure the
covers that.
motion's right
Yes, sir.
and everybody understands
You're
what's
right.
affected.
For a vote on the amendment.
So what we're voting on is
The amendment.
parish-wide subdivisions with and without improvements only.
So
For the
it's not gonna
moratorium.
include multifamily? Or will it?
If you put that language in, it would restrict it to
I need.
subdivisions with and without improvements.
So did you need to amend it? Is
Well,
what
not
I'm-
if he says it's.
No, that's Shane's amendment covers that.
The amendment covers
I
this.
mean, if it covers it, that's fine, because that'd be most everything, right? Except the families. You know, and like you were asking if it made a.
Shane's
just wanted the
amendment is
clarification.
is strictly subdivisions with improvements and without improvements. I think he wants to restrict them
And all the
before.
other stuff's in that ordinance that's under, so it would cover it.
I think by implication, his amendment would take out the commercial language, because he wants to restrict it to just those 2 items.
I understand what he's saying.
So
We got to get it right, guys. We got to get it right before we.
It's not gonna be the end of the world to shut it all down for 60 days, guys. Let's shut it all down.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
I agree. We know what we're doing if we just shut it all down.
We want to get it right, well, if we shut it down, it may not even take but 3 weeks, 4 weeks, might take 5. Let's do
So,
it.
so if it's not anything wrong, what's wrong with Shane's motion?
Because it takes out a bunch of other things.
Like
That's the
what?
problem.
That's
Like
what's-
what?
Anything that's pertained to 125 should be a thing.
What G-Bar did, it cut down on every subdivision of property in the south of the interstate, just amended to say the entire parish and vote that thing
Yeah,
in.
we good for that. We good with that.
Wow. Tim,
Okay, guys,
let's
okay,
go.
guys.
And
You have to let me talk.
You're to 90 days, so.
that's a substitute motion.
Okay, guys. And I'm just talking here. So this ordinance, this moratorium is written, basically says exemption, family members subdividing for their children or other members of their family. My thought was, when you do that, you're doing that under a minor subdivision, okay? So that's why I left out minor subdivision, okay? The other thought there about commercial development is that a lot of the concerns, a lot of the things that need to be addressed, there's multiple things that need to be addressed within the 60-day period. But one of the major concerns is the school system and trying to figure out a way to implement some impact fees. I talked to some school board members tonight. You know, we feel like that we can get that implemented within that 60-day period to try to make, you know, generate some type of, you know, funding to address some of the problems that we have. So that was some of the major concerns that needed to be addressed. I mean, I'm not opposed to prevention for just 60 days on commercial development, you know, but my thought is I think over the 60 days that we really need to focus on what's written here in this ordinance in the subdivisions with and without improvements. I'm not discriminating or picking on anybody, but just the things and some of the concerns that I heard, you know, it's strictly related to the subdivisions with and without improvements. So that's my motion. Let's vote. If you want, if you want to make a counter motion, go for it.
Yeah.
I would like to make a counter motion.
Go ahead, Scooter.
That it would be exactly what this says, except we would change it from the 12-month to a 60-day with a 30-day addition. Everything else is there.
The whole parish.
I'll second.
And the exemptions.
The whole parish.
The entire parish.
He's already made that motion.
Put it in something else.
He's already
And
made that
strike the
motion.
family member thing, because y'all had that at the very top, right?
Isn't it the motion he already made?
Shane added-
Wait, it's too many people talking. Hold on.
I wasn't
Scooter
finished yet when
finish. Joe, you finish.
Okay, so it would say, change it to 60 days with a 30-day extension, and it would remove it would put everything in here, except where it says family members subdividing for their children. We're not gonna make that exemption. I think we need to just shut it all down. They ain't nobody gonna be 60 days and they gonna have to divide it and do it right then. They're gonna take them longer than that to get through planning.
Let me say something.
Hey, hold on. Hey,
If they wanted us to shut everything down south of the interstate, except family exempt, that's what most people wanted, G. Well, leave it in there.
So what is
Exempt them.
Well, that's Shane's motion.
What's your motion?
No, that's not changing.
That's not
So that's
changing.
the motion. Do it like it is, 60-day with a 30-day addition, and leave the
Parish-wide.
parish-wide.
Okay, and what's different in the two motions, Mr. Chairman?
commercial. Shane's didn't have commercials.
Commercial, like dollar store or something like that?
Anything. And it's gonna give us time to get, and we don't have to work on that if it's right. You know, like you were saying, we won't have to work on that if it's right. It's there. We'll work on the stuff that we know we have to fix
Did you get a second?
and move on.
Yeah.
Usually.
Morris, you still gonna second it?
I'll second.
All right. So you still got something to say?
Yeah, look, the problem is big subdivisions that would come in with 100 lots. Subdividing a family property or for.
It's gonna be
We
in
just
there.
took that out.
Took it out. It's gonna be.
And,
It's out.
and then if someone has commercial property on Florida Boulevard, the Range, and I mean, that's not the problem here. So why don't the moratorium just cover the major subdivisions for 60 days?
I'll call the question. 60 days. All right, so we're.
You got it?
Oh, we called the question.
No, so make sure
So
the clerk got it.
if you want to try to get a motion to continue talking, we're ready to vote.
I think Mr. G-Boy is fixing to withdraw his second.
I'm gonna withdraw the second.
I'll second it and call the question.
All right.
Can you do both in the same motion? Because I
call
need
the
some
question.
discussion.
All right, called the question. Second. All right, so here's what we got. 60-day moratorium, parish-wide, just like G-Boy wrote it, with
No,
them changes, right?
No,
What changes?
An ordinance to adopt a temporary 60-day moratorium regarding new developments with the option to extend 30 days parish-wide.
Can I say what I got?
Yep.
I have 4 things. Plus, I didn't know if y'all wanted to add on the including non-moratorium for building permits to make that. First thing is you have to vote to amend. If you want this all together or separate amendments, they'll have to be voted on separately. But if you do them all together, you would have your subdivisions with and without improvements for 60 days with the option to extend no more than 30 days, and it would be extended by resolution. It wouldn't have to be another ordinance amendment. It would be effective 15 days from the date of adoption, like we have now. It would be for only new developments and subdivisions with and without improvements, and it would be amended for the entire parish.
That's Shane's original amendment.
Right.
Right, that's,
But the substitute motion includes commercial.
Yeah, so the only difference is
Mr. Chairman, would that include like snowball stands and stuff like that too or not? Is that commercial?
Commercial.
It's commercial.
That's
So
snowball
Scooter's
stand-
motion would shut down commercial development as well.
It was shut down everything.
Snowball
Till we get
stands.
it right.
Except for families, except for the families.
That's right, except for the family division of property, and that's not gonna be that.
Okay, call for a vote. Did somebody call for a vote?
Yeah.
All right, hold.
Jason called for.
All right, so we called for the
That's how we
question.
should address it.
So should we just go on and vote for the substitute?
Substitute motion
Substitute first. All right, Ms. Sandy, call for the vote.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
No.
Mr. Talbert?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Delat?
No.
Mr. McMorris?
No.
Mr. Wascom?
No.
Mr. Ard?
Yes.
Mr. Garlinghouse?
Yes.
You got one.
Two motion carries.
Passes.
Good motion carries.
Substitute motion carries. So we have a 60-day moratorium
On everything.
on everything.
Wait.
Everything but the family.
So,
As amended, it needs to be now voted on.
It's not on building permits. It's on
Right.
divisions of property.
That's right. That's
wait,
right.
hold up. Say that, Chris.
Well, since this was an amendment, now you need to vote, now the ordinance has been amended, now you need to be.
Adopted.
Vote
to adopt it.
Adopt the
Okay.
ordinance.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Garlinghouse, second by Mr. Mack.
You don't need to.
Adopted as amended. Call for the vote again.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
Yeah.
Mr. Talbert?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Delat?
No. No.
Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Ard?
Yes.
Mr. Garlinghouse?
Yes. All right. 60-day moratorium with 30-day.
At least you
option
did
to
use the
go
F
30.
word.
All right, so now let's move on. Let's go up to, back to the top.
Oh, we
All right.
only one in?
So I tell you what, before we get into that next one, let's go on. Yeah, let's do planning, Mr. Sam.
They've been here all day.
Huh?
That's it.
Come on, we're gonna go do all the planning.
Yeah,
So
they've
this
been
is
here a
it.
long time today, guys.
See, he played Leighton Ritson, and I played him.
Come on.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is,
Yeah, you can.
still got a quorum.
We still got a quorum, go ahead.
Good.
So we're gonna start with the first one and just go through them. And then you're gonna deny them per your moratorium? Is that the way you're gonna do it? Or do I even need to mention it?
None of these are affected by the moratorium. These have all been approved by planning.
I gotta go to the
You
bathroom.
can just go down the line.
I'm just gonna go down the line, and you do what you need to do.
7, yeah, here you go.
We-
Don't need the 5.
Hold on, I think we need to ask Chris.
Want me to sit down?
Moratorium's not in place yet.
Yeah, it won't be.
The moratorium's not in place until he signs it.
Yes, we will.
We're gonna wait for Chris to come back in?
Yeah, we're gonna let Chris come back so we make sure we get this right. So we're gonna take a 2-minute break, so. 2 minutes.
Motion to break.
We got a motion, give me a second. Second, all in favor? Aye. Just take a break. 2-minute break.
Channel 17, proudly serving the Florida parishes.
I need a motion to re-enter the meeting.
Second.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Garlinghouse, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I didn't have my mic
All
on
right.
a while ago. Y'all could hear me?
Oh, plenty. We did fine. Yeah. All right, so let's get back into it. Mr. Sam, item 11.
I appreciate the young lady for telling me.
Yeah.
Mr. Sam, go ahead.
Okay. First on the agenda, we're going to go through 1 through 8 or 10 or whatever we have in. Y'all just tell me what we need to do. Deer Run preliminary plat. This is in Mr. Bubba Harris's district. This is on Forest Club Road. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary plat for Deer Run subdivision as presented.
Mr. Bubba?
The planning commission approved it. So, that being said, I don't think we have much of a choice but go with that.
Mr. Bubba, can I ask you a question?
But, hold on.
I said something.
All right, you good? All right,
I was going to ask him a question, that's all.
go ahead, Mr. Randy.
Mr. Bubba, would you be okay with tabling that, being we got this moratorium in place and we can make sure? The moratorium is for large-scale subdivisions like this, and maybe we can do something during the moratorium. I don't think we can deny it, but I think I'm going to ask the attorney before I say this.
Ask the attorney, yeah.
Can we table this or not?
Technically, you could table it, yes. You do run into the problem of you have a 60-day period to approve a preliminary plat. If you don't approve it within 60 days, then it's automatically approved.
So it would,
And I agree with that. So are you okay if I make a motion to table it?
but it'll be outside the 60 days.
I can't stop you from making a motion.
Well, I don't want to get in your business.
Yeah, well, we know what's gonna happen.
Okay, so you got the floor.
So, since we all know what's going to happen and there's nothing we can do about it, I'm gonna go ahead and offer a motion to accept it, so.
Oh, all right, so that's a motion from Mr. Harris to accept.
Can I make
Do I
one
have a
comment?
second? Do I have a second to accept?
I'll second.
Mr. Talbot. All right. Mr. Mack? Hold on.
So I just wanted to-
I'm gonna get to y'all, hold on.
Before we vote, I liked Randy's idea to table it. I'll tell you specifically why. Randy had brought up a couple of weeks ago, we've already talked about it in an ordinance committee meeting. I think there was a developer here that kind of led us in this direction. We were looking at modifying those ordinances such that, of course, it would take approval, right? Majority vote of the council. But we were looking at modifying those ordinances such that you would need to bring the studies that were being performed, before the council with the preliminary plat, so that we could feel good that before we approved the preliminary plat that it was going to be a good development for the neighborhood. So to me, that was one of the things that we wanted to talk about and try to get addressed over the 60 days. I think we can do that probably pretty quick. To me, I would be in favor of tabling this development until we could take a real good look at it and see if we wanted to, modify the ordinances and maybe look at making sure that this development met those ordinance requirements. So that's just how I feel about it. That's my statement on that.
So, Mr. Chris,
Yes, sir.
since this has been through planning,
Yes, sir.
is it advisable for the council to table this and then change our ordinances and then make them adhere to those ordinances?
No, I mean, I know that's a noble attempt, and I understand the frustration, but I don't think
It
any
is.
change that you're making now that wasn't in place at the time that this was submitted to the Planning Commission can affect this particular development. I mean, we stand on two general propositions in this country, or constitutional bedrock. Number one is that a property owner can do whatever he wants to do on his property as long as it is legal. It's a legal use. He can't. No government can stop him from doing whatever he wants. That's number one. Number two is fundamental constitutional right. You can't post ex post facto laws. You can't say outlaw something in the future or go back in time and make it retroactive. So that's going to affect you here. All these great changes you're making, they're going to protect this parish going forward. are going to apply to the future subdivisions that come before you for approval. There's some that argue that if, even in the pipeline, if it's been even submitted to the planning office, then those rules can't apply. Others can say, well, if it's been approved by the planning commission, then you can't apply any rules after that date. So we went through this a month or two ago. Can you technically vote it down? Can you put it off? Yes, you can. But ultimately, you have very limited resources to defend a case if you vote it down, because you have to show that it was in some violation of your law. And if this, it hadn't been said, but I'm just guessing that they didn't ask for a variance, that they met your ordinances at the time it was presented. If it didn't meet your ordinances, you have wide latitude, you have wide discretion to vote it down. If they met your ordinances, you have very, very strict rules that you could defend if it were challenged in court. So,
Right. Okay, thank you.
Well, I'll make a comment.
Yep.
You know, if y'all remember 2 weeks ago, I put forth a resolution to ask planning not to meet. And if planning wouldn't have met, we wouldn't have a recommendation on this right now, and it'd be a moot point. The ironic thing is that there are 6 subdivisions on here that lie in 3 council districts. And those council districts all voted in favor of planning to meet. So obviously, they wanted planning to meet, they wanted these approvals sent forward. So we've got a motion, and a second on Deer Run. I'd like to call the question.
Oh, Hope, before we call, we hadn't opened up public comment, so I have to allow public comment.
Yeah.
So is there any public comment? Yes, ma'am. Just remember, you got 3 minutes, and please don't repeat, so that everybody can speak.
Do I need to give my name and address?
Yes.
Okay. Christina Guyban, 29190 Honeysuckle Lane, Livingston. Okay, so can you clarify something for me with the current ordinances? He's saying you have no legal leeway.
What
You
he saying?
have to vote. So what would the lawsuit be?
also be, if we were to not deny this preliminary plat,
Yes.
that we had no basis for doing so.
Would it be arbitrary discrimination?
Pardon?
Arbitrary discrimination?
No, the claim would be, we would be arbitrarily and capricious in denying the plat after it had met our current ordinances, when we've already approved hundreds of other subdivisions and approved them. You can't treat other people differently. So
Correct.
that's the basis, that would be the basis of their
You
case.
have an attorney. I have two. We can provide you with unprecedented circumstances.
Well, you have evidence that we can bring forth to the council that could sway the consideration. There have been a couple of cases that say if you consider some valid studies or proof that this doesn't meet your ordinance or it creates a health hazard with some real proof, that could be a more defensible case.
That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Lobel?
Dang, he calling you by name, huh?
Scott Lobel, 18502 Louisiana Highway 444. The question that I have with respect to this development, I guess, is are we following Robert's rules of order with public comments and discussion? Sometimes it seems to come in before or after there's motions made and things like that, where it almost feels like public comment is being circumvented around it before, where we can be a part of the discussion or hear discussion and then comment afterwards. I definitely like clarification on that.
That's a good question, Mr. President. We're bound by the public meetings law, which requires any agenda item that's voted on you have to take public input at some time before you vote. Some public bodies get all the public input before the council discusses it. Others wait till right before the vote. So there's no real law about what sequence it is. So
We just have to allow public comment.
public input before a vote.
Right. Yes, sir.
I'm not sure how, Chad Hidrolamo, 9796 Vincent Trace, Denham Springs. So I'm not sure how all the planning part works and all that. So this is a question I'm just trying to figure out. So somebody had told me that Joe Krupp,
Rogowski.
Okay, he's part of the planning commission?
He's
So-
our chairman of,
Okay, yeah. So he votes on stuff, I guess, with all this? He owns a cabinet shop, and I've been told from a few different people, like, he's been saying, oh, he don't want a moratorium because he'll lose business with his cabinet shop. Is that some kind of conflict of,
but look, we're talking about Deer Run.
Okay,
We're talking about Deer Run. So if you got a comment on Deer Run,
okay, I don't want, yeah, no, Deer Run, I mean,
Oh, the ethics board.
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
cool, I didn't know, yeah, that's cool.
Anybody got any comments on Deer Run? Yes, ma'am.
Holly Clark, 24613 LA Highway 1032. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for all y'all's hard work. I know y'all are trying, but you literally just heard Mr. Cecil Harris say that this subdivision alone would put 600 students in a school that we don't have. And yes, I understand there's legal obligations, but you also have a legal obligation to your residents, and this does affect the safety, the well-being of your current residents. It affects our children. Where are you going to put these kids? It's 60 days. We're asking you to table it. We're not asking you to say yes or no. We're asking you to table it. Table it for a little while so we can get some of these ordinances fixed. I understand this would have never been here on this planning commission if Mr. Talbert would have been at the ordinance meeting to put the moratorium.
Wait. Hold up. Just to be clear, Mr. Mack had an engagement that had to pull him away. So we already had one missing when Mr.
Yes,
Talbot
Mr. R,
had
that's
to leave.
correct.
So
But
let's be fair about it.
I am being fair. He changed the order of the agenda to meet what he needed to get done. So don't skip that part. I understand y'all are busy, man, and I understand you have prior engagements, but when he came in here and he fixed to what he wanted to fix, and then said, oh, they can't say what they wanted to say, this moratorium had already been voted on the last council meeting.
All right, first we're on Deer Run, but just to clarify that,
Okay,
the
we're fine.
moratorium was not even on the agenda that night.
Because it wasn't approved to the ordinance. Because
It
he
wasn't put
wasn't
on
here
the
to vote
agenda.
on it.
Wasn't approved, it wasn't
It
on
wasn't
the
on the
agenda for
agenda.
the ordinance committee that night.
It would
It was
have
not
been,
even
though.
on the agenda.
They
We
didn't-
just
Mr.
spoke
McMorris
with
didn't get
Mr.
to talk
McMorris
on
and
it.
talked to him about it.
Okay, well then go back to Deer Run.
Introduce a new business, correct?
Correct.
That's what the word you
Correct.
told me and you told me. New
Correct.
business, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
And new business, okay,
defend
new
that.
business is
We've got
always
two
in
set of
order.
rules right now going on, and
Always at the end. So,
Let's move on.
all right,
I've been
yeah.
slandered.
All right, so Deer
Tired
Run,
of it too, thank you very much.
Deer Run, Deer Run.
We do not have the schools for this. This affects pretty much the section 125 where we've already talked about, it affects the well-being, the morale, everything of our residents. Y'all have been elected to be for the residents, not for the developers, okay? Let me just remind you that these residents put you in these seats, okay? So think about that when y'all are voting on these things. We're not asking you to say yes or no. We want you to table it.
Mr. Bradlaugh, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, wait. Let Clint go first and you can come next.
I just want to ask a question. Why is...
We know your name, but you got to state it for the
I'm
record.
Clint Harris. Why is health, safety, and welfare even in the language if you're never going to use it? Why is it even there?
Not a
Have
lawyer,
you ever
right?
tried it?
We did.
Did you lose?
We have.
Is that okay if I speak?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Erlenhouse.
The Attorney General of the state of Louisiana told me it was not applicable.
In his opinion.
Well,
That's only opinion.
he's the Attorney General.
It's not law.
I mean, he's not just any attorney, he's the
You
Attorney
said you were
General,
gonna lose,
the Attorney
you were gonna
General.
lose.
If you tried to use it under that guise, yes.
Then why's the language even in there?
We don't know.
I didn't write the language. I don't know. But I mean, look, on that particular case, we
it's a
applied
pretty-
it.
I think
I
it's a
called
pretty-
and I asked specifically about that. And he said specifically about this, no.
All right, that's pretty serious.
I mean,
You've been sued before, Chris.
I can help
Yes, sir.
answer
No,
that question.
you do.
The gentleman won't particularly like the answer, but there many cases have dealt with this. And the courts have basically said, the general feeling that it's bad for drainage, traffic, school crowding, et cetera, that fear alone is not significant. You have to have some actual evidence at the consideration level to determine whether what there really is that serious an impact with traffic, et cetera. The cases that were successful, where a preliminary plat was denied, they had some real evidence at that hearing. And that's why most parishes are going to this business of requiring these studies to be submitted now at the time of the application. Certainly this council is about to put into place, so that when you have those studies at the consideration level, you would have a lot more teeth in this and be able to vote it down based on health, welfare, and safety, because you have some actual evidence of it.
So the studies would have to show.
I missed one thing, I'm sorry. Could you repeat about the schools again for me?
If you have some actual evidence.
We had the president of the school board here. Thank you. That's all I need to do. Thank you.
Was that presented to the planning commission?
Presented to us?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Devin Gregoire, 31262 Old Baton Rouge Highway, Albany. I am also the school board member for, actually it's a Hammond address, sorry. It's a Hammond address, but it's the Livingston Parish School District. I'm also the school board member for District 9 in Albany. And as was pointed out by Mr. McMorris, Mr. Harris did bring the impact studies that we have about all of the schools that are at capacity or almost at capacity, which from an average study, a 600 lot development would impact about 900 plus kids into a school district. Even if, and also with the impact fees that we're talking about, even if we implemented a $20,000 per lot impact fee, that would only generate $12 million. That would be enough to begin construction of a school, but it's not enough to complete one. It would also mean that we are 3 to 5 years behind the kids. So if the development is completed and those 600 to 900 plus kids are put into the system, we're then still 3 to 5 years behind having a place for them to sit down, having a teacher in front of them. That's all I have to say.
Can I make a comment?
Wait, are you finished?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Deer Run's about a 15-year build-out in this thing. So Deer Run from start to end is about a 15-year build-out. So you're not going to have however many kids in day one. It's gonna ramp up over a 15-year period. So you have plenty of time as a school board to adjust to some of those requirements.
Please keep it down so we can get through this.
So, and I'm very much in support of a school impact study as well, being that's I believe on the agenda tonight as well. Yes, that being said, the average length of time that a house sits on the market in Livingston Parish is 2 days. If you can sell a house in 2 days, you can build another one just as quick. So a 15-year build out, as per 2 years ago when they started these studies, is not a 15-year build out now, because the length of time that a house sits on a market. Also, the average selling price is anywhere from 5 to 15% higher than asking price. So we're in a buyer's market right now, which means that those houses will go quick, and those kids will be put into the system sooner rather than later.
The seller's market.
Thank you.
All right.
Seller's market, yes, sir. Sorry.
Yep. Do you have a question for him? Okay.
Appreciate that. Hey, Devin, appreciate you coming. So, did I hear you correctly? I just wanted to make sure I get this in my head. So, when this subdivision of 2,100 lots is completely developed and all the houses exist, you're going to have approximately 3,000 extra kids?
Somewhere between 1.3 and 1.7 kids per house is an average estimate. So yes, around 3,000 kids on 3 to 4,000 kids on a 2,100 lot subdivision, which is approximately 10 schools, if you want to put it like that. And it'll only generate about, with 2,100 houses, I think that's somewhere around $40 million for an impact of that $20,000 impact fee. That'll build you 2 schools, and you need 10.
I can't do that.
I'm just thinking that it would be pretty wise to make sure that we had a game plan to, provide a good education and school system for these 3,000 kids before we would approve something like this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So don't approve anything for 3 to 5 years at all.
Karen Sandiford, 24411 Oma Harris Lane. Please table it, guys. I have watched this whole thing. We have ordinances in place. We can do it. You can do it in 60 days. It's 60 days. Please table it. It needs to happen now. We're up to the plate. I think that the ordinances that we have discussed and I have sat here and watched this whole time are good. Do we even need 60 days to do it? But we're there. Please table it. And as far as challenging this with, I'm sorry, I'm talking so fast. Our hearts out here are just dangling. We're like, table it, please. The only way that we're going to get change is if we do challenge it. I've talked with other councilmen in other parishes. They've talked about Florida Boulevard where 4-H Club and Rushing meet. That right there qualifies as the general welfare. 911 can't get through there when the traffic is backed up. It is a traffic nightmare. So to stop this and say no based on the general health and welfare of the people is completely legit. I do have a few points to make. The Attorney General said landowners. So who is going to sue? The developers? Because they don't own the land. How does that work? Do the developers own the land? So that's one point. My next point to make is I'm just going to. Deer Run went to planning with no sewer plan. So when they put together a sewer plan, that then counts as a significant change per their ordinances, and that sends them right back to planning.
That ordinance isn't signed. The ordinance that was written that should have probably been adopted 3 months ago or 2 months ago that kept getting stress tested and kicked down the road, that only got voted on 2 weeks ago and then got vetoed, is not in place at this time. That requires them to go back.
Can I ask the attorney a question?
Wait, Ms. Sandiford, you finish?
It's to do with her question.
Oh, you got a question for her?
Yes, I want to ask it to the attorney instead of her.
Okay.
The point that she made is the veto gets overridden tonight. Then does it go back then? She's asking a question. She's wondering, Gary said it doesn't go back because the ordinance got vetoed. So if that's the only reason it doesn't go back, if the veto gets overridden, then does it go back?
If you override the veto, would that ordinance be in place?
Is that what you said, Gary? I'm sorry.
I mean, okay, if the parish president signs it, it's still 15 days, right?
Right.
If we override the veto, it's still 15 days, right?
Yeah, that's typically right.
That don't make sense.
What do you mean it doesn't make sense?
It don't make sense. The charter doesn't call it that way. The charter says that he has 15 days to sign it. He doesn't say he's got an extra 15 days.
That's a good question. It may become immediately
That don't
effective
make
after
sense.
overriding the veto.
As long as it's outside 15 days already.
Right.
Okay.
So
It hasn't been overridden.
no, it hasn't been overridden yet. It's a hypothetical question, I guess. So she wants to know if it could be overridden. Gary says it can't be overridden, but it can be if the veto's overridden.
We could be here till
Would it,
midnight and not
would
come
it
up with
be,
anything.
if that ordinance changes tonight, would it affect
That's what she's asking.
Would it affect this project that's already gone to planning commission? That's a whole nother question. I'd say probably not.
Okay. That's dancing.
So that, it won't do any good to
Wait a minute.
put this off, y'all.
Stay
Let's
with- I
vote
don't
and go
understand.
through.
It says it now. It's in Municode now.
Okay, the plans for Deer Run call for private sewer.
Not at the planning commission.
Here's the map. In the deal, it says, single-family residential, woods, 1,349 plus or minus acres. Recreational areas, got another number I can't read, 2,000 something residential. It defines a tract. It says street right away, not 50 public right away. Then it talks about streets and sewer disposal, private sewer treatment plant. Sewer District 2, Council District 6, Drainage District 1, Fire District 4, Rec District 3, Water City of Denham, Gas City of Denham, Electric Demco, Telephone Bell South, Cable Cox, School District 1, and building setback. So, I mean, in the thing, it clearly said private sewer, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Harris?
Tax study, it's all the way down to 5 filings, I believe it is. And you don't have it, but I have it on my phone. We're gonna get that to you when we give you that information. But it would tell you how many students are gonna be in each of those filings.
Each of those filings.
But the total of 2,029 homes, it's 676 additional elementary, 338 additional middle school, and 225 additional high school. And that's for the 2,029 homes.
Okay, so that's the Denham Springs School District, right? So the 220 gonna go to Denham Springs High School.
They go to Denham Springs High School. The 676 are gonna go to one of these elementary schools unless we build a new school, and that's what I was telling you earlier.
Okay, I understand. And the middle school will be absorbed at,
Well, those will go to Southside Elementary, Junior High.
junior high, which is gonna be bigger than the capacity of the school that is replacing it right now?
Well, the Southside Junior High will be able to handle this probably.
Okay. You know, is Southside Junior High got
Elementaries won't be able, huh?
Sir?
The elementaries won't be able to handle it.
So the only real impact you got, you need an elementary school to accommodate
They got
that
land
deal.
inside of here for that, don't they?
The high school right now is, we pretty.
You know, the politics of Denham Spring never gonna build another high school there, so just face it, y'all just gonna keep
We
making it
just gotta
bigger
add
and
on
bigger.
every
Y'all
time.
just keep putting T-buildings out there, y'all never gonna get another high school.
No, we can't go but up now, we have no more space.
I got you.
But anyway, I just want to let you know.
Yeah, we
do have the
appreciate that.
impact of every student for all three.
I got you,
or 5
through the
filings.
deal. But I guess my point was is that if it takes a period of 15 years because you've gotta go do it, then build it out, then those students are not gonna be there in day one. They're gonna gradually come on as filings come on.
Right.
So initially, you don't need a new school from day one. You could
Right.
probably get by with T buildings initially and then come back. Well, and look,
trying to
let me
do
tell
away
you,
with T
well,
buildings.
wait a second. I mean, look, my son graduated from Live Oak High School. My daughter graduated from Live Oak, and my other son. So I've got 3 children graduated from Live Oak. I remember when we first went there were T buildings everywhere.
Yeah.
And they passed a bond and built a new high school, and Mr. Tate got a half-cent dedicated sales tax. And we've got some schools at capacity, but guess what we don't have? We don't have any T buildings over there right now.
exactly.
And
And
we have the revenue, we have the ability to build classrooms because we have a dedicated half-cent sales tax, and because the community has grown, and we now have a Walmart and some of these things that are infusing money into the school District 22 to fund the operation. I mean, my kid goes to Nichols now, and I can tell you what, Live Oak High School got a better baseball and softball complex than a D1 university in our state has because of tax dollars that have been paid through the half-cent sales tax that exist in District 22.
Well, we're building new facilities at Denham Springs High School, but it was an extenuation. It wasn't a new tax.
Wasn't a new tax,
It
right.
wasn't.
Right.
That's why I was saying earlier, we're gonna have a hard time building new schools because most of the parish is bonded out. Most of the places are like.
Well,
Walker.
and look, I mean, I understand, and Albany, whatever they did, 2 Saturdays ago, that solved that problem for a long time up there. They'll be able to, grow and create new schools because of that dedicated half-cent sales tax.
Well,
Probably
Mr. Gregor can answer that
over
question.
there now with new schools coming on board.
Thank you.
I got one question from Mr. Cecil.
You can go ahead.
So, just talking about the impact fees, I mean, wouldn't that help tremendously if we could put something in place to collect impact fees on these 2,100 lots over the next 15 years?
Sure it would.
So that we can kind of,
Sure it would. And I know that the $20,000 impact fee's been mentioned, but you got to understand that's spread over fire, water, sewer, all of it. It's not just for
Right.
schools.
Yeah.
So, and like I was saying, in the information that we're providing you, there's studies that's been done, and we've gotten studies from Florida and other places where they've used these impact fees and how they have improved the, you know, the schools, whatever. This helped. It helps tremendously. We can't do everything off sales tax.
No.
Yeah. Or villages
Especially in
either, so.
areas that don't have any. You know, there's a lot of areas that don't collect enough sales tax to do that. And that's the same thing with the drainage we tried. It's going to take fees.
Yeah, and we're fortunate in the Denham Springs district is, you know, our sales tax is good. I mean, you know, we're not complaining about that, but it just can't do everything that needs to be done with all the growth that we're having.
I understand.
Anybody else?
Nope. Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Okay.
Wait. Oh, hey, Hope. The lady, yes, ma'am, you.
You killed it.
Deborah Blunt, 19020 Blunt Farms.
Hold. Please repeat, ma'am.
Deborah Blunt, 19020 Blunt Farms Road, Livingston. I have a question about the time frame that the council has to act on, the 60 days where they have to make a decision, and I think my question would be to the attorney. He said that even if you defer, you'll have to make a decision within 60 days. And I'm reading from 125:13. It says time in which the council acts. And it says the parish council shall within 60 days approve, disapprove, or defer. So it says that within 60 days, they can choose to defer. I don't see anything that says
That's correct.
anything about the time frame after that they would have
That's
to
correct.
act.
The time frame that's set forth in the state law says that a planning commission has to act within 60 days. And if they don't take action on a submitted preliminary plan, it automatically approved. So it's really triggered from the date of the planning commission. Our ordinance requires developers to come and get parish council approval. State law says it's the planning commission that has that authority. So other parishes have it the way our parish does. It's never been challenged as far as I know. But the law that says you got to, it's automatically approved within 60 days, that's in state law.
You're saying within 60 days of when it comes before the council?
When it comes before the planning commission. So that clock is already clicking.
Okay, so this ordinance states that the council has 60 days.
True. That's in conflict with state law. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So is this just unusable?
No, I mean, because on almost every case, it's approved but within the state law period, because typically when it goes to the planning commission, a week or two later, it comes to the parish council.
Okay.
So we've just never had that situation before where anything's been automatically approved by failure to act.
But, so I really don't understand what would happen if you're saying the state law and the parish law is different. The parish law says that the council can deny or approve or defer within 60 days.
It does say that, yes.
So what happens if the council takes action to defer within 60 days? And the time period that the planning commission got it and approved it, when that 60 days passes,
Right.
even if the council has
Hasn't acted?
deferred it, if they have deferred it, what's going to happen?
Well, then I would think that the owner, developer, whoever brings it would have an extremely good lawsuit to have it approved by the courts.
But you're saying most parishes have this same kind of law that our
No, I'd
parish?
say not most.
Oh, okay.
Some
do.
Right.
Okay.
Most
So-
most places allow the planning commission to approve preliminary plats. And that's what state law requires.
Randy, you've been saying that since the day you
I got on
here.
this council.
Mr. Burns knows that law too. He's made it
I got
brought
on
it to
this
my
council.
attention 10 years ago that we're not in compliance with state law.
So that might be something that needs
It's
to
a
be
serious
considered
problem.
and
Yeah.
taken care
Yeah.
of
I think
too.
zoning would.
But
we're gonna
according
fix
to
that
what
with
we're
zoning.
seeing, the people here
Yes, ma'am.
who want these things slowed down
Right.
so that the welfare of the people can be taken care of, it appears that y'all have the right to, even within 60 days, to defer it.
By our ordinance, that's correct. I've always advised them, don't push this state law requirement. Get it done within the 60 days to keep that from happening.
Thank you.
Once we get it challenged, then they would
Yeah.
make a ruling on it, and then we'd have to change it to the planning
Nobody's
commission.
challenged it yet.
So Chris, basically, according to state law, you're saying because of Planning Commission Act, if we rejected as a council and the developer challenged that the Planning Commission acted and therefore it was in accordance with state law, that our vote up here could be mute anyway?
That would be a strong argument they could make, is that whatever you do is academic if it's been approved by the planning commission.
Okay, thank you.
Can I
I have
ask him a question? Oh, go ahead.
Can I
Tracy.
ask something else?
Real quick.
If the council votes to deny the subdivision within the 60 days that it went to the planning commission,
Yes, ma'am.
does what the planning commission voted to approve override that? Or the council actually does have the power to deny?
That's never been challenged, at least in this parish, so I don't know the answer to that. If they file a lawsuit, we would certainly fight it and try to uphold any action this parish council takes, because that's what my job is whatever action they take, I'm going to defend it as hard as we can.
And some of us have
But we have to be honest about our chances of winning a case like that.
Okay. Some of us have talked to attorneys who have given us the feeling, in their opinion,
Right.
that a lawsuit could be won
Yes,
by the council under these circumstances.
it can be under certain circumstances, yes. I'd say the great majority of those cases are lost unless there is some very strong evidence to support just this general fear of school crowding, traffic, drainage, et cetera.
And
One or two cases that have been successful, there was real evidence presented. There'd been a traffic study done right up in the same road that the council took that into account as good evidence that it's a problem. We can't approve any more subdivisions on this road until something is done, and the courts allowed that.
does it take more than one of those things to be, to have evidence, or just one, like the schools?
That case came down, it hinged on that traffic study that was presented to the council.
So it could also hinge on school system study, and we've had word from Mr. Harris tonight that pretty well explains that.
I would say a more scientific analysis of the timing of the needs for the school and the capacity of the schools, et cetera. It would be a lot better to defend that, other than this general notion as we're at near capacity.
Well, I feel sure that some of these wise people here could come up with those kind of studies and
Right.
to back it up.
The case I've talked to you about, though, that evidence was presented to the East Baton Rouge Parish Planning Commission, not the council. So I think a good argument could be made is that evidence would have had to have been presented to the Planning Commission.
So it's starting to sound like the planning commission's the one that's actually making these decisions, and there's not much left for the council to decide on.
Except to rubber stamp it, because
Well,
that's all we can do.
unless the developer is coming and asking for a variance, meaning he can't meet your ordinance. And this particular one apparently meets your ordinance, haven't heard anything other than that. So, but as you get your ordinances stronger, so that more and more subdivisions will be forced to come to the parish council to say, oh, can we have relief from this rule? Then they have a lot of power to vote it down. And they have a lot of discretion because they're coming asking for a variance. When they don't ask for a variance and it meets the current ordinance, that's when it's hard to beat them.
So technically, they could vote to defer it, but,
And
okay. I
Need you
have
to wrap
one-
it up so I can get some more people up.
Can I have one other question real quick?
One more.
Since the planning commission has so much power in this, and I think some of this is open to public hearing when they present it, I could not find on the calendar, on y'all's website, the planning commission meetings and agendas, and the agendas for them. So if we can't find the agendas, we don't know what's going to be
It's
coming
on
up.
the parish president's website.
Okay, because everything else is on the council website.
Parish president's, planning and permitting is under the parish president's administration.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. But before somebody, Mr. Gregory, could you please come back up here? I've got a question for you.
Yeah. So you had said earlier that if Deer Run is developed out, then the school system, I'm just to reiterate, the school system wouldn't be able to handle the load of that development for that area.
Yes.
Okay. So my question at this point, Mr. Moody, could we table in order to bring that to the Attorney General under the guise of health and welfare?
I think that, the more evidence you have, the better chances you are to defend a decision. That's absolutely true.
Can I ask a question? If the school board felt that they couldn't service that school district, that subdivision, and they've known about this because they got the planning, why didn't the school board as a whole vote a resolution and come to this council and say we're not capable of educating those children if you let that subdivision be built? There's nothing like that that's ever come out of a school board with respect to they're not capable of doing that. Look, we've told that there are schools near capacity. We've told that they underpay their teachers. We're told they're having problem getting teachers. But at no point in time have they said they're not capable of educating the children that come within a subdivision. And if that was the case, then they should pass a resolution. Every time we submit a subdivision that says we're not capable of doing that, we'd ask y'all to not approve it. But that's not coming out of the school board. It's coming from individuals that are elected to the school board. It's not a majority of the school board. That's my question, why that resolution hadn't come forth.
Mr. Gregory?
Yes, I can address that. It hasn't been brought up before the school board at all. It's coming through administration, but not before the board itself. If the board itself was made aware of this from the administration, which is an issue we'll have to address, but the board itself was made aware of this situation, then we may have already put that in place. That's the reason why I'm here today, is to let y'all know where we stand as a board. And I can't speak as the board, because no one person from the board can speak as the board. I'm here as a resident. But my capacity as a board member, I'm privy to some information which I am then presenting backward to y'all.
We appreciate that.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Harris, real quick, while we're on the school board, you got to come up to the mic so they can have it on record.
What's his name? Cecil Harris. Cecil.
As a school board, we're not going to tell anybody they can't come to school here. And we're not going to not educate somebody that comes here. So if they're here, we're going to teach them. And so,
But to the best of everybody's ability, that's right.
And I understand that, but this has clearly been a problem for a while. So, and look, we're getting beat up here, and that's our job. We took it. But if this has been a problem for a while, I just find it disconcerting that we're just now have someone here from the school board telling us that this is a problem, and now all of a sudden it is. And I'm not picking on you, Mr. Harris. I'm just saying, if the system is flawed, it's flawed across the board, apparently. So,
like we said earlier, this should have been addressed 20 years ago, not tonight.
And I think that's what he's saying, is that we just
Can I ask Mr. Harris a question?
And it's not going to be fixed overnight. So
All right, look, we need to wrap this one up. So if anybody's got anything new they want to add to Deer Run, and I will get to you because you had your hand raised.
Give me 1 second to find what I'm looking for. Sarah Ferris, 19241 Plantation Trace. So I can't find it right now, but I know in 125, and I should have just brought my paper copy, it says it is at the discretion of the council to request a school impact study. That's not in anything vetoed. That's the way 125 is written today. How many times has this council requested a school impact study?
Well, I know I did at least one a month ago.
So we can put the onus back on the school board, or we could put the onus back on the council and say, why did no one request a school impact study for Deer Run?
No, I'm not-
Or would you like to do that today?
I will take my responsibility for that, but if, in my opinion, if the school board is being inundated, they're the ones who deal with the day-to-day. They should, I felt at some point in the history, don't you think they should have come to us as well?
We had no idea what was going on.
Puts them in a very tricky spot, right?
Wait, just hold on, let her finish. We gotta wrap this up.
It puts them in a very tricky spot because, as you just heard, 2 representatives from the school board say, they cannot legally come and tell you, I can't educate any more children. Okay, they can't, it's not legal, okay? So you keep saying, come with the data, and we come with the data, and it says, it's not gonna be implemented that quickly. It's, this is gonna be multiple filings, it's gonna take this amount of time but we don't know that. There is no restriction that says you can only build 100 of these houses this week, you can only build 100 more houses 6 weeks from, that's not restricting. So if they had the workforce to throw up all 2,000 plus homes in Deer Run in a week, they could sell them all, and they would do that. So without some data to say, here's the pace at which we know for sure these houses are gonna get built and people are gonna buy them, then I would also like to see that data. Having said all that, if that school board data had been in that planning commission meeting that Deer Run came to, I don't think we'd be having this conversation right now. It would have been denied and we'd be done.
Mr. Chairman, I don't go to, I don't go to all the planning commissions. I only go when they feel like they need me, but I didn't go this last one. But I've been at several where the school representative is asked as part of the planning commission evaluation, how will this impact the school system? And they've typically done an analysis, and that information is provided to the planning commission. I'm not sure they've ever had a subdivision this size either. Because the times I've been there, the school person says, yes, we can accommodate this, it'll mean this many students at this school, this is where they'll go. Am I right, Mr. Burns? Hasn't that happened at planning commissions?
Sam's right there.
Sam?
Yeah.
We notify the school board when we start.
Okay, hold on.
Right. And the school board is notified of the planning.
Come on.
Yeah.
And they also send out our agenda.
And sometimes they've attended the meetings. Yes.
Josh Day is very, very attentive. And I think.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Eric Piazza, 400 Convention Street, Baton Rouge, 70810. I just want to remind everybody, you're being asked to approve a subdivision that meets all your legal requirements right now. Nobody's asking for a variance. It meets all the code requirements. The Planning Commission confirmed that, unanimously approved it. As Mr. Moody said, if you deferred this project, the same set of rules applies tonight as would apply in the future. Just because you passed a moratorium or you pass a future ordinance, it's not retroactive. So what applies tonight would still apply in the future. There's no reason to defer this project. The other thing is that on a health, safety, and welfare issue that's being discussed about schools, that issue truly is for a moratorium. It's a parish-wide issue. It's not a project-specific issue. If you're going to deny a project for health, safety, and welfare when it meets all the rules, I think your attorney will tell you, and the Attorney General told you, you can't deny it unless it's specifically based on that project for a very specific issue. If there's a problem with flooding, if there's a problem with traffic, if there's a problem with schools and applies to the entire parish, you can cover that in your moratorium, and you can certainly address that with ordinances, but you can't deny a project that meets all the rules when you've been approving other subdivisions that the exact same thing approves. So you've been doing it time after time. No one from the school board has been here to say, oh, we can't approve any more subdivisions because we don't have capacity for the school. The state subsidizes every student that comes through the school to help make sure that doesn't happen. I understand that they'll have to plan for it. That's why this is a multi-phase project that will allow them to plan. I understand this isn't popular. I understand you're in a bad spot. The people don't love it. I can appreciate that. No one's trying to hurt the people. You've spoken very clearly by passing your moratorium, but this project meets the rules. Thank you.
Sir, question.
Jeff, I want to say something before we vote.
Wait. Hold on.
Go
All right.
first.
So I guess my question is going to be, these developers sitting here tonight know the situation we in, the whole parish. Why don't they stand up and help the people of the parish to help us get through this? Are they for the parish to build, to gain interest in our communities? Come on, guys, help us out. 60 days. Please, we begging you guys. I know, you shake your head all you want, guys, but it's just the truth. If you really care about Livingston Parish, there's one guy in this room that I know cares about this parish, called a parish people that build here. Just understand that, please, man. Step up.
All right, let Deer Run?
Deer Run.
Okay.
Appreciate you, buddy. I know it's late, but this is a 2,100 lot subdivision. It's huge. Okay, just to answer the lady's question that came up and asked the question about the school studies, okay, for the subdivisions. I just want to go ahead and be as honest as possible. It was my understanding that the parish administration and the review engineer team, along with the school board, studies were being performed, impact studies were being performed on subdivisions and how it affected schools, and ensured that, that there was a plan to be able to, house and educate the students so that everybody got a good education. I guess it was probably, I don't know the exact day, but it was probably a month or two ago, we had a conversation, and it was brought to our attention, that wasn't the case. And we started really, at least for me, I'm speaking for myself, I really started to learn how that really worked. And so that's when, I guess a couple of months ago, we really went to work trying to figure out a way to fix that, so that a study would be performed and the council could be educated, or if we go, planning commission could be educated on the impact of the division, and ensure that a good plan, was put in place to be able to educate the kids, right? And so we've been working on these ordinances for over 60 days, and Tracy's been meeting with some individuals, and there's still some work to go. And so tonight we voted to support a moratorium so that we could kind of complete some of those actions that need to be completed, so that we can provide a good quality of life for all the students and people and everybody in Livingston Parish. So, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I mean, my thought is, if we were to defer this for 60 days and implement these ordinances, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, I'm no attorney, but I really feel like I could defend my vote, that it was for the safety, welfare, of the people of Livingston Parish. I feel like, and I'm really not, I'm for everybody, Derek, all of the developers mean just as much to me as everybody else. I love everybody, but, guys, it's time to vote on this. I mean, right's right, wrong's wrong, vote your heart, vote what you think is best. Let's move forward, but.
All right, last one. Come on up. Deer Run.
17850 M. Guitro Lane, Bobette Larking. I just want to give you a little bit of information about teachers. Deer Run is going to put a big stress on the school system, okay? I've been teaching for a long time. The last teacher shortage, I was teaching. Temporary building, 35 kids. My kids always scored very high on testing. 35 kids, you can't accomplish that. I don't care how good a teacher you are, okay? Discipline. How can you control 35 7th and 8th graders? Discipline was horrible, horrible. The administration got tired of seeing the kids in the office. I had a gun pulled and pointed to the back of my head, while I was up at the chalkboard. Too many kids. I mean, you say we live in the country. Yes, this was at Front Settlement High School. Mr. Moody just told you, if you have the data, I think we provided you with enough data. There's a teacher shortage. There's a school bus driver shortage. They're having to make 2 routes right now. They don't get home, some of them, until 5 o'clock in the evenings because there's no bus drivers. How are you going to send these kids to school with no transportation? Where are you going to get the teachers? You can't fabricate them. The developers can't get teachers. What, they won't pay us to go to send more kids to college? Nobody wants to be a teacher because it's so bad right now. And there's overcrowding in schools. Some schools probably right now have, too many kids in a classroom. I want you to think about this. Do you want your grandkids in a 35-room classroom in a temporary building? Do you know how close they're sitting together? I couldn't even see what they were doing. Couldn't walk between the kids to help them with their work because their desks were like that far apart. I mean, guys, it's a no-brainer. He just told you, if you have the data, try it. What are you losing? You're stressing out the teachers. You're stressing out the school system. And I might not be supposed to say this, but I'm on the Planning Commission. I'm not speaking for the whole Planning Commission, but we didn't have this school board data that night. It wasn't presented to us, because I can tell you I'd have voted no. I can't tell you what everybody else would have voted, but I'd have voted no. And I think Mr. DeLatte has the right idea. We need to have these studies at the Planning Commission.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to close public comment so we can move on. Mr. Talbot, you call the question. Well, first we've had 2 motions on the floor, no seconds. Am I right on that?
Oh, we had a second on
Think
Bubba's.
Bubba was first, and Shane, didn't you say you wanted to make a motion to table it?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to table this. Yes,
I'll second it.
Bubba had a motion.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to withdraw my motion.
All right, he's going to withdraw his
The reason
motion.
I'm making that to table it is because I want to see the studies. I'm not opposed, I'm not denying. I just want to make sure there's a good, solid game plan to ensure that, the kids can, get a good education and there's a place for them to go do that.
So you got a motion to table?
I got a motion to table
You got a
this.
second?
Randy seconded.
I'm going to make a substitute motion to go with the Planning Commission recommendation and approve.
I'll second that.
And I need a clarification question, answer. If I table this, I don't need a date to end. It doesn't come back up on the next council agenda, right? If I table it, it doesn't come back on until it's actually placed on the agenda, correct?
As long as it's within the 60 days, isn't it?
You're tabling it indefinitely?
I'm tabling it until we can get the ordinances in place to address, I want the impact fees, I want to, until the moratorium's over and we can get these ordinances addressed so that
Change the rules.
it can improve the quality and the development, ensure that there's a good game plan, safe plan for the kids to get a good education, yeah.
Chris, we explained that this subdivision will not be impacted by any changes that occur.
Well, I want to look that up myself, and I want to argue against that.
You withdrew your motion? Is that what you said?
No, I didn't withdraw my.
What'd you say?
I
missed it.
I think you had
motion to
tabled a motion to table, which I think takes precedence, right, Randy? So I'm not sure it's even amenable to a substitute motion. So we need if it's a motion to table, it ends the debate.
You have to have a vote on the
You have to have a
table.
vote on the motion to table. But I will say that if you motion to table too long, you're up against that 60-day rule, and you'll completely defeat what your intentions are.
Correct.
Be careful how long you table is what I'm saying.
You can make a motion to table and not say the date.
Okay, let's do this. So the motion will be changed to table it.
I'll second it.
And I guess that'd be for, what would that be, for 6 weeks, right?
No.
That would be over 30 days, and then at that time, we put it back on the council whether to vote or deny. I mean, we can do that, right?
Can I help you out?
Yeah.
The motion to table is not going to have a date attached, but what takes precedent is what Mr. Moody just said.
Okay.
The 60 days takes precedence over that table,
Yeah.
okay?
I was just trying to get a vote in before that happened.
Automatically approved.
Right. So I was just trying to get a vote in before it was automatically approved.
Well, it could come up at any time. I mean,
Yeah.
if we decide to change the ordinances and we have one that we like, we can go ahead and bring that back and vote on it.
Keep in mind, that's not what Mr. Moody said now. What Mr. Moody said is, you got to vote on a table motion first, because that's Robert Rules of Order.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
Okay.
So let's let
Vote on that.
him.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't put a date on it, which is not a requirement to have a date on it, it's tabled until somebody brings it back up, or until the 60 days comes up, then it passes. You understand that part?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question, Mr. Moody. If you've already said any action on additional ordinances will not impact this development, and the planning commission has already approved this development, will tabling this motion, tabling this development, I'll open us up for legal action by the owner-developer surveyor?
You can sue anybody for anything,
I
Gary.
understand. I'm just trying to figure out, what's your legal recommendation to the members of this council with respect to tabling versus denying versus approving?
I think you're delaying the inevitable, to be honest. I don't think it improves your position. The time to take in the scientific evidence or analysis or studies would have been at the planning commission level. Could it improve your position before you take a decision as a council? Yeah, I guess so, but that still wouldn't be ideal.
Mr. Chairman.
So I don't know that would even be considered. So I don't know what's to be gained by delaying a vote.
So if the delaying tactic is detrimental to the developer, can he seek legal remedy against those councilmen who vote knowing that they're just delaying the inevitable?
Hold on. Predict what they're going to do. Look,
I understand.
Whatever decision, I always say, vote what you think is right, and we'll defend whatever action you take. I just feel like obligated to tell you what the possible consequences are. So.
All right, Mr.
Real
Watson.
quick,
Mr. Watson.
I have one question. Has Deer Run ever come before this council for us to vote on before? No, I don't think so. And now that it's before us, we have a moratorium in place already. We now have a moratorium, so that is a reason to deny. So if Mr. Mack will remove his motion, I will accommodate that. I'm not here to defer, or like you say later. I'd make a motion that we deny Deer Run based on, and that way you're not sustaining the inevitable as you delaying the inevitable. Just to deny Deer Run and until we pick it back up again, because if you just table it and we don't take action, it's approved. So I say we deny it tonight. We've first time it's ever come to us. We've never voted on it before, so we have that right to. So if you'll remove your motion, I'd make a motion we deny Deer Run tonight.
Mr. Chairman, you have a motion to table. Mr. Mack wants
Yeah,
to
we
withdraw
got
it.
to
It's
vote on the
non-debatable.
table.
You need to vote on
We
that.
have to vote on the table.
Unless he pulls it.
We have to
Okay,
vote on the table.
I ain't gonna pull it.
All right. So we got a motion to table by Mr. Mack and second by Mr. Delat. You still good with the second, Mr. Delat?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. Sandy, call for the roll.
This is on which vote? Which?
This is to table.
On
Deer
Shane's
Run.
motion.
Shane's motion.
Mr. King,
No.
Mr. Mack,
Yeah.
Mr. Talbert,
No.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Delat,
Yes.
Mr. McMorris,
Yes.
Mr. Wascom,
Yes.
Mr. Ard,
Yes.
Mr. Garlinghouse.
No.
So it's tabled. Are we gonna table every one of them tonight, guys?
We had,
All right.
hope the
Let's
discussion.
move on, let's move on, 11B.
An hour
Mr.
and a half
Sam?
on each one.
Okay, next on the agenda is telecommunication tower. Verizon preliminary site plan. This is in Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse District, off of Duff Road, or on Duff Road. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to deny the preliminary site plan for the Verizon due to a waiver request.
It's my understanding on that tower that the tower height impedes upon the servitude needed to grow, and they did not get a waiver from the residents. So I make a motion, we send that back to planning.
I second it.
All right, motion,
Hang on. Oh, go ahead.
Received an email that they were trying to work with the neighbors and that they wanted
To
to
defer
defer
it.
until the first meeting in June, if possible. That was your wishes.
Still needs to go back to planning. So that's same thing.
so
it'd be
motion
right
to go
before
back
our
to
meeting
planning
anyhow.
from Mr. Girlinghouse.
I agree.
Who seconded that?
Nobody?
Mr. Harris seconded it.
He wants
All
to
in
get-
favor, well, wait, is there any comments from the public on that? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, Mr. Sam.
Okay, next on the agenda is a commercial development. This is in Mr. Gary Talbot's district. Roadrunner Tire Shop, preliminary site plan. Highway 16. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for the Roadrunner Tire Shop.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Is that a table motion or
Talbot, second
approve?
by-
That was a table motion or approve? Approve?
Yeah, motion by Mr. Talbot, second by Mr. Girlinghouse. Is there any comments from the public on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Hey, Randy, we don't do that in our district.
Next on the agenda, multifamily development, Cypress Ridge Townhomes. This is a revised preliminary site plan. This is in Mr. Scooter King's district.
Yeah.
Lockhart Road, it's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the revised preliminary site plan for Cypress Ridge Townhomes.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. King,
Second.
second by Mr. Girlinghouse. Any comments from the public on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Hope the schools can handle it.
Okay, next on the agenda is a subdivision with improvements, and this is the one, guys, I was kind of talking about that's coming back to the council for a reduction in lots. It's already been approved, but they're coming back because they want to reduce some of these lots.
That's what we want?
The Lakes at Lockhart, revised preliminary plat. This is in Mr. Scooter District. Lockhart Road. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the revised preliminary plat for the Lakes at Lockhart.
Oh, yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion. I think these guys have actually preserved some wetlands by lowering the number of lots, and so it's going to help the drainage in that whole area by keeping them wetlands in place. So I make a motion to approve.
I second. Oh, we have-
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Gilat. Any comments from the public on this? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Okay, next on the agenda is a subdivision with improvement, Foxtail Run preliminary plat. This is in Mr. Bubba Harris's district, Buddy Ellis Road. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary plat for Foxtail Run.
This is in Mr. whose
trying to
district?
find it.
Sorry.
Not my area.
It's on Jubin Road. It's right there. It's on Buddy Ellis, close to Jubin.
It's not me. That's
This-
Bubba.
Okay.
I think that's Bubba's district.
That is.
Bubba's.
On Buddy Ellis, yes, it's in mine.
How many homes is that?
John.
I can't find it in here. Which one you own?
Oh, it's on, look, it's on that separate page they gave us, with all the,
11F in the folder, and then there's a separate map.
I got a
How
question
many
whenever
homes
it's
was
time.
63 lots, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
3.7 on the density if you're interested.
17 acres.
17 acres?
Yes, sir.
I got it.
Livingston Parish Sewer District,
There's some good sewage over there.
FYI.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and accept this.
A second. Oh, you
Motion
want a
by-
second?
I had a quick question.
All right.
Yeah, does anybody know, does this particular subdivision, I know it maybe not be a requirement because it's not a law yet, but does this one meet the requirements of the 2 lots per acre density requirement?
No, it's 3.7.
It's 3.7. So we don't want
Is
to
what it
defer
is.
this stuff?
Are they asking for a waiver?
No, sir.
Decide.
Whose district is it?
Already got a motion, second. All right, so motion by Mr. Harris?
Yeah.
Who second? Second by Mr. King. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Mr. Arden?
Which one we on now?
We just did the one, yeah.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Sam.
Okay, next on the agenda is a subdivision with improvements, Nickens Lake, 4th filing, preliminary plat. This is also in Mr. Bubba's district, Forest Club Road. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary plat for Nickens Lake, 4th filing.
Big as this.
Lot. Right there, 155 lots. Gonna have over 800 when they get through, right next to the.
The Nickens Lake, 4th filing. Do I have a motion?
Who's that area?
That's Bubba.
Mr. Bubbles.
It's in my, I think all of this is in my area.
You only got
Three
5.
of them, you got 3 of them, Bubba.
It's the ordinance, it's up to you.
Let's see.
What is this, F?
Preliminaries.
Come on up, Lee.
We don't have enough room for schools.
Hey, let Mr. Foster would like to come speak.
I would like to, well, there he is.
Lee Foster, 2118 Robertson Road. Nickens Lake is my project. I am a developer. There's a lot of talk tonight about facts, about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. I want to bring the facts of Nickens Lake here. Nickens Lake, I am the owner of that property. I bought it in 2015, went to the school board. They asked for a site for an elementary school. I donated that to them. That was 7 years ago. Went through the process. Right now, there is 330 lots approved between Nickens Lake and Greenleafs, 2 different subdivisions. Boulevard entrance, there's another entrance coming for this 4th and 5th phase. So it's been 7 years, I've got 226 more lots, which between there and Nickens Lake gives me 556 lots total. It will be 12 years from the time I bought that piece of property and planned it. School board member asked me for land, I gave it to him. Livingston Parish, or City of Dillon Springs Sewer, asked for a regional lift station, 2 of them, and we pumped to the city. It was designed then. The new gas facility that was put out there, distribution for natural gas in that area, was put out there for this project. So this project was planned. This project wasn't started yesterday. So if there's any questions on it, we're talking to the developer and the owner. So
I got a
the things
question.
that were in place, as far as wetland mitigation, yeah, I did mitigate some wetlands, but if you look at the total project, it's been planned. So we're asking for planning for schools. We're planning for infrastructure, for turn lanes. This project did all that. The reason it's in 4 and 5 phases, I'm not building it all at once. So to say that it does have an impact, I agree. But every home in here pays the same sales tax that you pay when you buy a car, when you fill up gas. So that also has to be taken into consideration, because just like everybody in this crowd, I've been to these meetings. I've been trying to help to improve it. But I wake up every day, this is the livelihood I pick. So if I make an investment then and follow the rules and regulations in which I was given and plan, I think it should be approved accordingly.
Mr. Light, you had a question for me?
Not so much a question as a statement. Lee, I agree with what you're saying. They are good developments in here, and I'm gonna steal something from Scott Lobel. He used Plantation Estate. The developments that you have done in Nickens Lake is what I call responsible development. You had put infrastructure up front, And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to write stuff where all developers do what you do. And you have given me some input on some developments some ordinances that we hope to incorporate now that we have the moratorium and have time to do that. I have no problem with developments that are responsible or smart growth. And the way you devised your developments, you did that. And you covered all the bases. And you own the property, like you said. A lot of developments are not like that. A lot of developments are being shopped around. And they tell the guy, they say, look, if I can get this pulled through, I may close on this land in 60 days or 90-day option, whatever they have. And those are the things that we're going to try to address in that. You have asked, every time you ever did anything, you have asked what it takes to do it and do it right. You in about 5 states, I don't know how many parishes you're in, but no one can ever speak any bad about you and your organization. And I have no problem in okaying the development that you do, that everybody, you go through the same plans and checks as everybody else. And I'll be in favor of that development.
Mr. Harris?
I just want to ask one question to him, and I think I got the answer from Planning Commission. Didn't you add extra ingress and egress in this?
We reserved lots in the second filing for when we got to the fourth filing to put another entrance. Yes, sir. That's part of the fourth and fifth filing. It's not required for the third filing that we're currently under construction doing the development, but for the fourth and fifth, there will be an
He's always ahead of the curve.
I got a question.
Anyway,
So you make that motion, Mr.
Question,
Harris?
guys.
Oh,
Real quick. I'm
Wait,
gonna go
wait.
fast.
go
Can I
ahead,
go?
Shane.
Appreciate that. Lee, some of the changes you proposed in the ordinances that we're trying to change that actually got vetoed to the best of my knowledge, but it was the step down in stormwater reduction. Is this developed such that it has the step down stormwater reduction that improves the drainage in the subdivision?
It is currently not designed. We do have updated the drainage impact study. We did study that when y'all proposed the ordinance. It can be done like that because it goes to the Amite River. So this property backs up to the Amite, the fourth and fifth filing as you drain.
You'd be willing to do that?
Hey.
Mr. Talbot?
Lee, I want to ask you a question. When Nickens Lake first filing was at the preliminary stage and you were, making your original submittal, had you built the gas? Had you done the pumping station for the gas yet to out there? Had you built the lift stations yet, or was that something that was going to be done during the construction of the subdivision?
Not at the preliminary plat stage. Yeah. And one thing I'd like to say, when you ride through these developments, and like Mr. Rainey said, I'm a developer. I do the same, like we said, I put options on land. I do development. You decide when you buy it. I mean, that's the business we're in. But I'd like for you to ride through some of these developments that they're, like you're saying, hey, there's a place for 1 acre, 2 acres, 3 acres, 5 acre lots. I agree. I want you to ride through these developments that they say, hey, are these small lots, and really relate how we're talking about the pay of the teachers and what they can afford. And if you ride through these developments after 5 o'clock and look how many sheriff department cars, state trooper cars, and teachers that can't afford the opportunity to live on acreage. So it gives me great value to say, you know what, I provide a product to a teacher who is underpaid, that the school board, I don't have a decision in that is underpaid, that we say they don't have the right to afford a new house because of requirements, because of regulation. We shouldn't take that from them.
Thank you, Lee.
Pricing people out of
Because
the market.
I've heard.
I need another question.
I've heard person after person come up here and talk about the size of the
Lee,
lot
stay up.
and the quality of the individual buying it. And I think Lee made a great point that the size of the lot has nothing to do with the quality of the individual buying it.
I agree with
Randy, go ahead.
I agree with Gary's statement. The question I want to ask Lee is, how does 2 or 2.5 affect how many houses you build on a lot? It's a cumulative number.
Yes, sir. So this project, including the 20 acres with the school site, is 2.22. But it's the characteristics of the site that it really affects. So if you have an area that's low and wet, that needs a lot of fill, and you can develop part of it, So, but effectively, you take the unique piece of the property, if it's in a rural setting, it has greater effect on it. But between 2 and 2.5, so you take a school teacher who's making $40,000, they have a combined $80,000 income. So you, $250,000 house roughly. Okay, so that half of house per acre, because the most expensive part of development is the road construction, which is turned over to the parish for long-term maintenance. So the relay program relates to that. So when you can get that 2 to 2.5, I don't have the statistics of exactly how it affects, but it makes a project from an affordable project that they can afford to a project that the median income of a parish or municipality cannot afford. That's what it does. It takes all those people that we're saying educate and protect us and put them in rentals, and they don't afford the opportunity of home ownership.
I guess I'm asking, why can't you build 3 houses on an acre? It's a cumulative number. If the market says you got to have a lower house, why can't you do that? The 2.5 or the 2.0, or whatever that magic number is going to be, is a cumulative number. So if you're saying there's not enough low income, not low income, housing that people can afford, why don't you put 3 on a lot? When you fill that up, then you build like you do at Nickens Lake. It's a cumulative number.
But I can't do 3 if the ordinance says 2.
Yes, it does. The ordinance says cumulative number. If you got 40 acres, you can do 3 with 20 acres, and the other 20 acres, you can do 1.
So if I've got, like this site is 250 acres, that's what I originally started with. 2
Yes,
an
sir.
acre, I can do 500. So this total project is 556. So I wouldn't be able to do what is proposed, which we talked about was good planning for the school board, for the infrastructure for that. So that's what made this project viable. If it's 2, it goes to 500, and every project is different. But yeah, so cumulative, I started with 250 acres. That's what I started with before. Yeah. And some of our big home sites on 4-H Club Road that face
Right.
it.
That's the point I'm making. Some of those sites are 1 house per acre or 2
Yeah,
acres or whatever you're saying.
There's 3 to 5 acre sites on 4-H Club Road as part of this track and is in that density.
Right.
But 2 an acre you got to take the sales price of a house and then take the median income of the people we're talking about today. Everybody's talked about them. And say, hey, what can they afford before we put them in rentals? And like Ms. Gary said, that's not low-quality people. That's people that we send our kids to educate.
Trust everybody with.
So that's what that 2 to 2.5 does. Because I'm going to say there's developments. We just talked, Ms. Gary said there was 3.7. There's developments at 4. There's developments at 3. But when you get below 3, that's when you take that affordability of the people we're talking about, which includes some of these people on the council. We all work every day. And take that affordability away, so now you have regulated people and tell them they don't have the opportunity of home ownership.
This is for Lee. I got a question. Whenever you.
This subdivision, we gotta move on.
So Lee, you're presenting what appears to be a good case for smaller lots, but I guess the real question is if you had 50 less lots and you met the 2.0 requirement.
Point of order.
We
can discuss
how
this.
much?
Yeah, we're gonna be
What's the
talking
value difference? Because I mean that's what you're basically building your case story on.
Hope. We gotta stay on, we're fixing to talk about that in a little bit. Let's get through this right here. Let's get through this. All right, so this is Nickens Lake right here. All right, so we got a motion to approve this. Mr. Harris, second.
Need a second? I will.
He stood up there 45 minutes.
Mr. Delat seconding it. All right. There any comments from the public on this? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. H.
Right next.
Okay, next on the agenda is a subdivision with improvements. This is also Nickens Lake 5th filing, preliminary plat. This is also in Mr. Bubba Harris's district, 4-H Club Road. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary plat for Nickens Lake 5th filing.
Oh, yeah, everything was being built in my district.
Go for it, Bubba.
Not true.
Motion? You make a motion for
I'm
that?
making a motion to accept.
A motion from Mr. Harris.
Second.
Second from Mr. Wascom. Any comment from the public? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, moving on.
Okay, next on the agenda is subdivision with improvements. This is in Jubin Park, 5th filing, preliminary plat. This is in Mr. Gerald McMarsh's district, Brown Road. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary plat for Jubin Park, 5th filing.
Mr. Lee, can you come back up, please? Give us a speech on this one. Because, man, you've been a great help to our parish.
I am not the owner of this project. I am representing the developer and building the houses in this development. History of this development, you're talking about schools?
Yes.
This site originally had 2 parcels for schools. Those schools are built. This project started in 2005. Those 2 schools, Jubin Park Elementary, Jubin Park Junior High, were part of this property. That developer was out of New Mexico. He came to Louisiana. It didn't work out. It sat dormant for years. So that infrastructure, those schools are built, students are there. This system goes to the new Buddy Ellis Sewer District, the plant. That land was donated on Buddy Ellis. So this doesn't go to a package plant that the original filings were going to. So it's effectively the end of a project that somebody else started. Density, I don't have the density numbers. It's right at the 2.5.
2.51.
Yeah, it's right there at it.
You would say it'd be a 2.2?
I didn't, Gary did the math, I mean.
His math might be off, but
I'm not
anyway,
going to give you numbers I don't have. I calculated on Nickens Lake, but effectively we're finishing out the project as far as the last 2 phases of this development. There's currently houses built in the 4th filing, 1st through 3rd filings are complete.
If everybody would be like you with the developers, it would be great for our parish. So I'll make a motion to accept the filing.
All right, you want to leave it that way? You made the motion. We had a motion from Mr. Harris. You want
I'll
a second?
second.
Okay. A motion from Mr. Harris, second from Mr. McMorris. Any discussion from the public? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Moving on, Mr. Sam.
It's only 9 o'clock, Mr. Sam, and it's early.
Subdivision with improvements. This is also Jubin Park 6 filing, preliminary plat. This is also in Mr. Gerald McMorris's district. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary plat for Jubin Park 6 filing.
Did you plan for this one, Mr. Lee? All right, good deal. All right, I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion by Mr. McMorris, second by Mr. Girlinghouse. Any comment from the public? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Sir,
12A.
is it any possible way I could get, I have one on agenda so he can leave? Are you done with yours?
No, he's got some more
Oh,
stuff.
okay, never mind.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is
12A.
We're gonna 12A. This is Department of Public Works. This is a resolution I need, guys, to authorize the final acceptance of the contract with Gulf State Service on the bridge. This is in the school
I'll make that
district.
motion.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Wascom. Is there any comments from the public? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Okay, one more,
All
guys.
right, whoa.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
While you on Department of Public Works and we're talking about bridges, is there any update on Lodge Stafford Road?
I got a call about
Well,
it too.
unfortunately, I don't have the right engineer in here. Portland Blotto's doing it. It's in progress, I guess you'd say. I know it's taken a while, but Lodge Stafford it's going to be 100%, I think, fully funded. But FEMA won't let us do anything out there until all this stuff is approved. And as you guys know, in the lower part, working with FEMA is just about almost impossible. So we're being directed, and we're taking note of what they say. So I have not they had a meeting out there with the engineering group I think last Thursday, and all I can say it's in progress. I hope but we haven't done anything out there. It's still closed, and it's probably going to still be closed for another 6 months to a year. And
All right.
that's Sam's guesstimation.
Okay. We'll take Sam's guesstimation. All right, 13.
Okay, Planning Department, South Creek Phase 1, accept the road and improvements into the parish and put it into the parish maintenance, and release a $159,193.77 maintenance bond. This is on Wax Road. This is in Mr. Bubbles' district.
Yes, and I've been down that road a few times, and it's in good shape, so I'm gonna make that motion.
All right, motion by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. McMorris. Is there any comments from the public on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Hey, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Is Sam got anything left, or is he done?
I think he's done.
I'm done.
Got one item on 28.
Oh, wait, 28?
I'm just telling you that the parish president's representative is sitting over here.
Yeah, she's next.
And she been nervous about doing it from the beginning.
Yeah,
We
she's
have drug
next.
her out for
She's
3
next.
hours. She about to eat her toenails off.
Yeah,
I mean, she
I
done
have
gone
her
through all
next.
fingernails.
All right, let's do 28, because we need Mr. Sam here for it. 28 is discussion, status, and recommendations for the residents and property owners of Pine Meadow subdivision regarding the overlay and paving plans for the entrance of the subdivision.
John Mangus. I live at 13065 Catahoula. I'm president of the Homeowners Association of Pine Meadows. Thank you for Mr. McMorris taking my call. Thank you, Mr. Sam, for taking my call. The residents just want to know, about a year ago, 11 months or so ago.
It's been about a year.
Yeah. Our entryway to our subdivision, which is 180 homes, 179 in a slab right now, off of Joe May. Our entry was torn up, and now Mr. Sam has explained the road in there was underflow or sinkhole or?
It's doing a lot of, the foundation is failed. It's failed completely.
Right. So for 11 months now, it's just been the limestone, and it has potholes, and the residents are upset. Their cars get dirty, dust is everywhere, and we've been waiting for it to be fixed. Mr. Sam, you said that you have to get a contractor?
Yes, we, as I explained to Mr. Gerald here last week in conversation, and I was talking to Mr. John a little bit earlier, this thing requires hot mix. Cold mix don't do the job. This area that he's referring to, 6 months, we got to go back in there and do it again. We don't have a hot mix machine. So what we're doing, and I think, is Mr. Taylor in here? There he is right here. We have a lot of, a patch overlay program fixing to go on in this parish like we did here a few years back. I went to the financial director and asked her if we can get a little money for patch and overlay, because we have a lot of roads in the parish that we are digging up, just like Mr. John said, and we're filling up with limestone, and surely that sets up and makes a better foundation. And when we get those guys in the parish, we hope to get a better price for our material, so we can do these smaller jobs that consist of just a patch and overlay work instead of a complete restructure. So that's what we're waiting on now. It's just parish government.
So I got one question for you. The cold mix that you put down, do you roll it? You do. I'm gonna give you a prime example. I keep on using Bill Wise Road, Livingston Parish. That's where I live. I had the same situation. It's holding up great.
We just put that down about 3 months ago, didn't we?
What's that?
About 3 months ago is when we put it down.
Well, 3 months is better. I'm just saying, Mr. Sam, 3 months is better than
I
a whole
guess so.
year that we've
I
been
guess
waiting. And he's not the only one. I sent him the emails. It's 20 some odd emails I sent from residents and went and visited with the people. So if anything we could do to help these people out, let's do everything we can. And I know you will.
I will. You bet I will.
appreciate it.
We try to stay out there active, day in and day out, to, just to kind of grade it out and fix it as best we can. But we've got money appropriated for this kind of situation now. And hopefully when we get somebody in the parish, we can get more for our bucks and do more of these.
So can we get a tentative timetable that I can take to my residents? And as a personal aside, I just wanted to mention, I am one of the teachers that Mr. Harris mentioned is eligible for retirement. As of yesterday, I've had 29 years and I'm 55, so I am in drop. At the subdivision I represent, Pine Meadows, on my street alone, there are 3 teachers and 4 police officers.
Appreciate that. Hey,
So
G?
anything you can do.
Why don't I do this? I've got our engineer here, and he's the one that's gonna handle this patch and overlay plus our capital outlay program. So Billy, you wanna?
Yes, sir. So yeah, Mr. Sam just sent me a list and had a lot of your stuff in your district, and I think we're getting our bids in next week on the major overlay program. So following that, we're getting prices on all the patching and potholes that he's calling that. So I think probably you'd have a contract in place on that sometime in June to start taking care of those subdivisions that have the limestone. And I'll get with Mr. Sam and we'll try to direct it to the ones that's the worst and the hardest on his department to maintain first, and then we'll try to get you a schedule so you can let everybody know. But I think it'll be starting sometime in June.
Sam, what would it cost to overlay that with coal mix, even if it didn't last but a small period of time? How much?
Help me, how much is asphalt going right now?
So we got 50 feet, 60 feet, right, Mr.?
Yeah.
I'd say something like that.
It's a double width and it's probably less than.
We can satisfy a lot of people.
Hey, G?
What y'all do? Just had a failure, base failure?
We having a lot of those base failures. I mean, these subdivisions.
Look, I mean, I understand
People's getting tired of the pothole patching, so.
I mean, look, I understand the hot mix deal and the last, but I mean, shoot, they've been there a year. It's been compacting for a long time. It's just a shame that we can't do something to address that, but.
G-Boy, Mr. Sam, I had a subdivision, Pecan Creek off of Dunn Road, and most of the road was great. But there were sections, 20 feet long throughout the whole place. I think it was 3 years ago when we did an overlay program. They came through with that, and they had packed it with the limestone. It's been 3 years, and they are still perfect today. So I know what he's saying. He don't want to spend the money on coal, and it breaks out, and then they got to dig it out and put hot. I get it, but it doesn't help the residents of your subdivision, right?
A ton goes a long ways.
It does. It does.
Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for being a teacher. We appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sam.
All right, so
And we gonna get
Parish President's report.
Wake up and come give us something over here.
Come on.
Yeah.
I got 50 questions. Come on, let's get started.
It's past my bedtime, guys.
We passed her up.
Okay, the parish owns some acreage out by the burn site in Holden, and Mr. Morris with MCM Plastics is also here, and it might be past his bedtime too. And he's offered to purchase 6 acres behind his business for expansion for $63,000.
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear what you said, Susan.
So they're buying the property. It actually appraised for $63,000, and that's what they're offering.
They're adjacent to it. It gives them access to a natural gas pipeline for their expansion. There's a lot of benefit to the parish to sell it, and it gets us out of the surplus property business, which is what we've been trying to do all along.
So the burn site, what about the burn site? Are we not going to use the burn site?
The burn site.
Say that again? It doesn't
It's by
affect
the
the burn
burn
site.
site.
It's just located near the burn site.
Near the burn site.
Okay. I'm good.
All right.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Talbot, second by Mr. Girlinghouse. Are there any comments from the public on this? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Too late.
You did a great job.
Good job.
Good job.
Introduction.
Oh,
of
it's
the
the introduction?
ordinance,
I'm sorry.
And the
I'm
pages
trying to.
are together. I don't know if y'all.
So you got to read it by title? Go ahead.
This will be proposed ordinance number 2221. It's an ordinance authorizing the Livingston Parish Council to transfer and declare certain movable property surplus, and this May the 26th at 6 p.m. will be in the public hearing.
Get that green copy.
We'll have a public hearing on it then.
Is it
All right.
okay that the pages are stuck together?
Yeah.
All right. Is that it?
Okay, Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Just for my own knowledge, so I'll know for later, that wouldn't have to go out for bid for that?
I think that if you're, Gary, am I right? If you're
Not
the
if you're the adjacent
you
property owner,
automatically-
then you have first access as long as you pay the
Adjacent,
appraised
you have
value.
first
That
right,
just
thank
goes
you.
through Civic Source in, it can just be
You pay
done.
the appraised value, and then you've got first shot if you're the adjacent property owner.
All right, thank
All
you.
right. So let's go on and get the next big one out of the way.
Adjacent property owner contested.
All right. Number 9.
Oh, number 9. I was on number 9.
Number 9. Y'all ready for number 9?
Good night, here we go.
Yes.
And after 9, can we take a little break?
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
take a little
please.
break. All right, number 9 will be a discussion of veto statement of LP ordinance number 22-06, amendments to chapters 125 subdivision regulations to ensure that any alterations to project designs are up to date with the current standards to reduce drainage issues and prevent flooding in the parish of Livingston. Accept or override veto statement.
Mr. Chairman, I need to ask a couple questions. Do we read the veto statement, or is that not necessary? Okay,
I
good
don't
enough.
think
That's
we
good
need to-
enough, good
yeah.
enough. I would like to read a statement, though, Mr. Chairman, on this.
What's that?
I'd like to read a statement on this item.
Okay.
I'm officially exercising my right as a councilman to respectfully disagree with the veto statement. Giving developers authority to increase the amount of lots by 25% on each development is the opposite effect of smart development. Smart development is to lower the density of developments to ease the adverse effects on infrastructure and citizens. To quote one of the many citizens who has attended every meeting the past 3 months, smart development that has stood the test of time is plantation estates. President Rick's opinion that development is going to slow down doesn't have any facts or historical data. The facts are that citizens are past concerned and are now afraid. The facts are the development frenzy pace are at levels never seen before in our parish. The facts are clerk of court records, planning department inquiries, permit issuing, and tonight's agenda. The facts are it's open season in Livingston Parish for developers due to a lack of meaningful development regulations that protect citizens who live here already. It's been said we're going to be stagnated if we don't give in to the developers. It also has been said we're 20 years behind in our subdivision ordinances. The last fact is this council is doing everything it can to protect their citizens by putting ordinances in place to do so. It's proven that the council will spend a large amount of times to work through issues. The last item in the statement I will address is reason number 1, fairness. There seems to be a difference of opinion from the Webster Dictionary in the veto statement on what is fair and what is not fair. Vetoing a 7-2 favorable vote does not seem fair after reaching a compromise for 2 lots per acre. In closing, we cannot continue to kick the can down the road or wait until the next council comes aboard. People demand and deserve we create laws to protect them and their families. I want to take this time to ask for support from my fellow councilmen by exercising our right in the Home Rule Charter and overturn this veto. And I'll make that as a motion.
All right, that's a motion from Mr. Delatte. Do I have a second on that? Second from Mr. Mack.
I'd like to make
All right.
I'd like to make.
Hold. We gonna let them, because if you make that substitute, we gotta vote on it. So I need to if the public has anything they'd like to say on this.
You know all about it.
All right, y'all good? All right,
So, council,
only you, Mr. Lobel. So you can speak for everybody right now.
Scott Lobel, 18052, Louisiana Highway 444. One thing that I want to mention about the density requirements, and by having less lots per acre or less homes per acre, what that does is it gives us, I want to reiterate that I've said this time and time again before, it gives us built-in factors of safety on traffic impact studies, drainage impact studies, or impacts that we realize and see, school impacts. It gives us the opportunity not to fill lots all the way up to a base flood elevation, and where if we have larger lots, we can just do underneath the house pads. There's a lot of built-in stuff that is just good and responsible development whenever you have a larger lot size. And that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. So there's something I want to add to this real quick. We got another issue with this ordinance, which is some language was messed up and it was put in there to do a 10% reduction instead of a 20% reduction on our retention ponds. We did last night in the ordinance, we went ahead and have an ordinance to introduce to fix the 20%, and it does say 2.5. I'm not gonna lie. But that can be amended when we actually vote it in. But we have to fix this 20% reduction. That, we cannot allow anything to happen without this 20% reduction. That has to be done.
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, but I think we can veto the ordinance and still fix that.
I mean, look, there's two ways to do it. The ordinance was vetoed. Randy made a motion to override the veto. I'd like to make a substitute to accept the veto specifically because of the 20%. I mean, we talked about it. I think everybody sitting out there thought there was a 20% reduction in the outflow runoff. But the ordinance got typed to 10. And I'll take blame for it. I proofed it, read it. And I never read that part in detail because I never thought that it ever gotten changed. But it did. I'll take the blame for that. You know, so the ordinance has been vetoed mainly because of that, also because the parish president wasn't crazy about it too. So in an effort to introduce ordinance that would be effective, we put one together with the 20% and the 2.5, and there's not going to be a vote on the veto override if that ordinance in 2 weeks when that ordinance passes. Y'all do what you want to do tonight, but I think that the 20% reduction in outfall is way more important than the 2 versus 2.5. And so that's why I'm making the motion to support the veto so that we can have a new introduction of an ordinance tonight out of the ordinance committee agenda. You know, when the ordinance committee deal comes up, we'll make an introduction. We'll have a public hearing in 2 weeks. And those new drainage ordinances, stormwater retention ordinances, the new way we deal with drainage impact studies, all that will be in place. So that's my reason. So I made a motion. I don't know if I have a second or not.
Can I respond to that reason?
Hold on. We had a second from Mr. Garlinghouse. All right, hold on. Let's Mr. Max, because he hadn't spoke yet.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate those that realize that wording that we worked really hard to put in to improve the drainage wasn't in there so that we could fix that. I guess the question I have, though, is, you know, we just voted for a moratorium. We just approved a lot of developments, right? I'm going to do some more research, but I've been told that the one that we tabled, you know, the modifications that we make in the future, that one wouldn't have to abide by those modifications. So, I mean, there shouldn't be any more developments that come before this group before we do have time to make the modification for the 20% reduction. You know, so, I mean, my thought is yes, the change needs to be made, but there's plenty of time to make the change because we got 60 days to do it because there's a moratorium. You won't be approving none. So if we support, you know, Randy's motion and override the veto, we go with 2.0, modify the ordinances, you know, then, you know, we got plenty of time to do the 20% reduction. That was my point. So
Hold on, Randy had it next.
Shane said it better than I can say it. I could support what Mr. Talbot was saying, but I understand it's not no hurry and no effort. So we can veto it, just like he said, and we can come back and put the 20% in at that time. I mean, we can override the veto,
Mr. Gerlinghouse?
I think as we sit right now with the moratorium in place, the 20% is more important than the 2 to 2.5. And I'm just going to say it again one more time. If you zone this, if you zone your territory 2025, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. You can make it 1. You just zone it that way, and it fixes everything.
All right, Mr. King?
Mr. Chris, on the veto, is there a time frame for us having to try and vote to override it? Or does it automatically stay? You know what I'm saying, I mean.
Yeah, I think you have 1 or 2 meetings. So you have there's a deadline. I'll have to look in your charter.
Second
I was just
meeting.
wondering,
You got up to the
I didn't
second
want
meeting.
it just to slip through and stay in place if these guys wanted to change it.
Yeah, there is a deadline. I think Mr. Let's right. It's by no later than the second meeting after the veto.
Okay, thank you.
Got the thing.
It's not that critical, Chris. I was just thinking, we didn't want it to, I didn't want it to pass each other up in the show, because if we had all the time in the world, and we don't if it's 2 meetings.
All right, so we're going to have to vote for the substitute motion first, unless, Chris, have you
I don't know if I had a second. Did I have a second?
Yeah, Shane seconds.
Oh, Shane.
Yeah. Give Mr. Chris just a second. Do you think you can find it, or?
I think I got it highlighted, Chris.
Here to see if it says how long we have to override a veto.
Guess I should
I
know
think
my
it
charter.
specifically says by the second meeting.
Oh, she already got it pulled up.
We're going to vote one way or the other tonight.
on the agenda
It doesn't matter.
Veto by the president shall be submitted to the council by the clerk of the council no later than the next regular meeting held, should the council vote not later than the second regular meeting held after publication of the vetoed ordinance to override the president's veto.
But if we override it tonight, it wouldn't matter.
No, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Takes 2/3
But if we
vote.
didn't, and because Shane was saying we could wait, because we got 60 days, and we don't. You gotta do it by the second meeting.
6.
Okay.
So right now, we're gonna vote on the substitute motion
Not over.
If we override.
not
Hold the veto.
to uphold the veto. So the veto would stand.
Can they do that?
That's what you put. Okay.
Veto
And you got a
would
second
stand.
from Tracy.
So that means Layton's veto would uphold.
Stay.
Yeah.
And we could write a new ordinance and
Mr. Chairman.
introduce it, right?
Mr. Chairman, that motion I think is out of order. I'm going to explain why, and the attorney can rule on it. I think his motion's out of order because it essentially does the same thing if my motion fails. It's the same thing.
Yeah, but we get to vote on mine first.
No, that's not how it works. It can't be the same motion.
It's got to be something other than
it
the
can't be the
opposite of the motion.
Correct.
So it has to change his in some way. It can change it in a big way, but it has to change it in some way.
His motion's out of order.
Override the veto.
Veto.
And so if you vote no, then you was for the veto. If you see, you don't change, you're not changing the motive. You got a copy, Robert Rules of Order, I know you do.
I don't bring it anymore, I'm not the chairman.
So if we.
Nobody's standing up yelling point of
So
order, means I don't need the rules in front of me.
Voting for Randy's motion
Override the veto.
overrides the veto. If it fails, the veto stands.
Correct. And also it needs 6 votes to
It's
override.
6 votes.
Yeah. 6 votes to override.
Override.
All right, so is everybody clear?
Yeah, we're ready.
We just on record, so we are.
So,
Yeah.
yes, you override it, no, it stands.
Yes is a 10% reduction, no is a 20% reduction when we introduce it.
That's not true. Quit
All right,
blurting things out. We got plenty of time to fix that.
Hold up.
Clapping the hammer for
All
him, right?
Miss Sandy, call for the vote.
Overturn the veto statement.
Overturn the veto statement.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
No.
No.
Veto stands, Mr. Chairman.
Of the 4, so.
Move on. Move move on. All right, let's move on.
So now we got 10%.
So now we got a bunch of introductions of ordinances. Let's see, first 14 is an introduction of ordinance, chapter 125.
We got a break. We said we'd take.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, break.
10
All right,
minutes.
take a 5-minute break.
All right, I'll make a motion to take a break.
We have to do that by motion, don't we?
Hey, I need a motion for that.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Mack. All in favor?
You didn't hear me hollering that well.
Channel 17, proudly serving the Florida parishes.
So 14 is the introduction of ordinance. This is chapter 125, subdivision regulations and revisions. Miss Sandy, or one of y'all have that to read?
I don't even have that to read.
It will be proposed ordinance 22-22.
We don't have 14.
14 in here.
Me either.
But that was that the 20% reduction? And the 2.5, the 20% reduction and 2.5?
That didn't come out of a special meeting, did it?
No, it came out of the ordinance.
Ordinance committee, but it's on the agenda.
Okay.
So we're not gonna do that in the ordinance committee?
No, we're gonna do it right now.
Okay.
All we're doing is introduce.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, this is just introduction.
yeah, before you put the date on it, do we want that date to correspond with the next ones or not? You know, the next,
We can make it, we can put 4 weeks on it.
Yeah, we can do them all at the same time. Yep, that'd be
I'm going
fine.
fishing. I ain't gonna be here in 4 weeks.
All right, so Sadie, do you have a copy to read it?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we go ahead and read it?
Yeah, go ahead and read it.
Okay, this will be proposed ordinance 22-22. This is an ordinance to amend chapter 125 of the Code of Ordinances of Livingston Parish, Subdivision Regulations, Article 1 in general by amending section 125-1 definitions, section 125-2 authority purpose, section 125 the middle, section 125-11 requirements for subdivisions without improvements, section 125-12 requirements for minor subdivisions, section 125-13 procedures for subdivisions with improvements, section 125-14 construction procedures, section 15 final plats, section 125-23 building lines, section 125-25 drainage impact study / drainage sign design requirements, section 5-52 mobile home park submittals, section 125 Section 125-81, commercial development submittals. Section 125-106, Section 125-109, multifamily development submittals. And the public hearing will be, I guess, June 9th.
June 9th.
6 p.m.
June 9th.
June 9th.
All right, who said they had a question? Mr. Mack?
I got none.
It's probably been explained to me already, but I'd like for somebody to explain to me again. I just want to make sure we get this right. So 20% stormwater reduction in favor, but can somebody come talk about the step down process? And wasn't it going to be 10% at one phase and then 20%? Can you somebody explain that?
Okay, so basically at the 10-year storm, we're going to reduce flow by 20%.
Right.
So we'll have a pipe that will allow water to start leaving the retention pond at a 20% reduction over where it goes in. At the 25-year level, there will be another set of pipes that allows water to leave at a 20% reduction. And then at the 100-year, there will be a weir that lets it overtop. Am I right on the weir? Is it the weir? There's not a pipe at 100, there's just a weir at 100?
Weird.
It's just a weir at 100.
And it's gonna be over the top of the pipes, right?
In the way that this is worded, y'all read it, the way that this is worded, that requirement is understood. I mean,
Yeah, it's a reduction. The only way
I mean, I don't see anything about a weir.
to achieve the 20% is to step the pipes. What we did, if you remember, when we did 25-year, then all we asked for was that 25-year maintain. We ended up with a big pipe. We dumped it all at 25. By doing a reduction throughout the process, we started at a lower level. If we would have done a reduction at 10, if we'd have started at 10 last time and then at 25, we'd have had a step back then. What we ended up was with a big pipe at 25. That's why when we went to go to 100, we originally talked about a reduction at 100. We realized we were going to have a huge pipe at the top. That's why the recommendation was to go to a reduction throughout the process. And then Mr. Taylor, at the request of Mr. Foster, ran some models on stuff that hadn't been developed to figure out if we needed to design for 25 internally or design for 10 internally to make sure that we got what we got. And the results of the models that they ran is that if you do the 20% reduction at 10, 20% reduction at 25, and the 20% reduction at 100, that we needed to design for 25, because by holding that water, we would overtake the 10-year design standard and put that underwater. So that's why we're designing for 25 internally, and we're going to start the reduction at 10, then we'll reduce at 10-year, we'll reduce at 25, and then at 100, we'll overtop.
Okay, I understand.
And then we'll have a slow, because what happens if you have it, if you do it all at one time, then you get the water runs out and you don't hold it.
Too fast.
But if you step it on the way up, then it's going to step it on the way down, and you're going to hold the water in the pond a lot longer, which will benefit the downstream impact because you're going to reduce the water at a lot slower rate. Did I explain that right, Billy?
Is that right?
Close.
Okay.
You good now, Shane?
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
All right. Was there any other questions? 'Cause
So I got one question. So do we have a design for this as far as how the pipe's going to be put in?
The design will depend on the size of the pond. So basically, you'll look at the design, you'll look at the whole subdivision, and depending on how the subdivision is, like, for example, if you have a subdivision that sheet flows and a canal, then you'll have to have a reduction on the sheet flow on the outside. You cannot turn a subdivision that sheet flows on part and then runs out a canal at one, make it a single point discharge. You've got to continue to sheet at a reduction and have a discharge at a reduction. If everything in a subdivision funneled to the center and then ran out one pipe, you'd look for a reduction of 20% on one place. But if the subdivision sheets, then you got to have a 20% reduction on the sheet and a 20% reduction on the single point or the other discharge point out of the retention pond. You cannot change the characteristics of the property. I mean, for example, like sometimes a piece of property, water runs off all four sides, plus it runs out a canal. You cannot turn that into a single discharge point because then you won't have a reduction on the canal. You've got to reduce it, sheeting on the side, and reduce it in the center.
But you know these contractors, developers, what they're going to do. So what I want to make sure we have something in place to show them, hey, I'm a construction worker, correct? So is there something in drawings that's going to show that layout, Billy?
Miss Morgan is gonna evaluate the numbers they give us, and she's gonna be sure that the design standard they set forth on the outfall is gonna work according to the model. And if Miss Morgan is not satisfied that they're building it properly, then she will run her own calculations so that she can verify that the numbers that they do. Morgan, you want to step up?
And that's all before construction starts.
Absolutely. So. I mean, they can't start construction until she says grace over their design.
During construction, they shut them down if they ain't doing it right.
And I'm telling you now, I don't understand it yet.
I think
that's the reason I'm asking. I think everybody in the audience the same way.
I understand.
So they do that in the DIS, but to answer your question, then they do construction plans, and I check the DIS against the construction plans, and that construction plan is way more detailed about the actual construction. And they have to have those approved before they even have a pre-construction meeting with the parish, and then they move on to go and actually can construct. They have to have a pre-construction meeting, and they have to have approved plans before they can start construction. So all of that has gone through and been approved and checked.
Basically, nothing's changed. All we're doing is the numbers, the percentage. That's all it is.
Thank you.
We all good with this? Like, this is just an introduction, so with all the comment,
I think we should.
when was the public hearing on this? June 9th. June 9th.
All right. Going hunting, fishing.
All right, let's skip down to 29. request for a status update on stocking Blind River. You got that, Randy?
Yeah, that was taken care of. Ms. White, you got that reading?
Yes, they stopped it April 14th or April 19th, one of those two. All three rivers with 80 to 85,000 largemouth bass.
Per river.
We need to get a dip.
All at Pearl River.
All in Pearl. I hope so. It's down by my camp.
Throughout the.
They split 85,000 up among the rivers. All right.
Hey, Jeff, they all gonna end up in that one spot, so when the water
Don't
runs
be quiet, man. Be quiet.
They gonna be down there.
Be quiet over there. Don't be giving my secrets away.
That's a big area.
Shane,
Stay
you
out
know
of it,
where
Shane.
it's at, so you be quiet.
I saw you fishing.
All right. Item 30, adopt a resolution to authorize a waiver of section 125-9 submittals for Kevin Ferguson to subdivide in a named subdivision, West Coyell Acres subdivision located on Milliken Road in Council 6, Mr. McMorris.
So is he here tonight?
Probably was 3 hours ago.
Yeah, probably so.
Probably was.
So
4 hours
what he's got, he's got 2 homes there now. He wants to subdivide to put his daughter there now. So
Second that
I
motion.
make a motion to accept. It is trailers all in this
I'll
place.
second, Mr.
All right, we got, Mr. McMorris made the motion,
Second
Mr.
to
Light
second.
seconded.
Okay.
Is there any comments from the public on this? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, 31, adopt a resolution to authorize a waiver of section 125-9 submittals for Carla Guerrero
Okay.
to allow the subdivision of property in a named subdivision located in Cherie Place, located in District 3, Mr. King.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. King,
Second it.
second by Mr. Talbot. Is there any comments from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I guess my question was, haven't we already done this in Cherie Place?
We weren't sure. I called and checked, and there's been some that were put together, but not. It's 2 trailers on the same lot. They can't finance one of them unless they split the dang thing.
But Tracy, right 2 lots over, you can see where it's been cut out
No, I
already.
get it, but I thought we had passed something saying if we've already done it once in there, then
We don't find where we had done it. We see on the map where it had been done, but we can't see where it was done.
So let's do it. So now we ain't got to do it ever again, right? Supposedly.
32, committee reports. Ordinance
We
Committee.
voted.
Already that far down?
Yep. There's a reason for that.
Well, I think we had
I'm gonna jump around.
discussed a few things in the ordinance committee. One of them, I thought we were going to bring forward was what we just voted on, so.
Yeah,
we're
one
gonna
we've
pass
already
that.
done.
The other one was the expansion of the pond ordinance, and the language we had brought forward. But I did that under other thing. It wasn't agenda items. Can we still introduce it? I guess we could, huh? As is?
Yeah. It was listed, so it's up to you.
It wasn't.
Hey, Tracy,
It was-
if you want to, you can introduce it for June the 9th.
Yeah, you can introduce it.
That's
I mean, we'll have another.
I mean,
meeting.
I think I'm good. We go with it now, but I'm going to follow the
Hey, Randy,
protocol on it.
Tracy, this one was listed?
Yeah.
The one that came out of this one, where we added retention detention in that ordinance,
Yeah.
was not listed?
Copy for y'all if one of you.
I'll defer it back to the,
Yep.
do you? What you got the
Introduce them,
committee.
we'll introduce them for the hearing on the 9th. That way we got 4 weeks.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm sure everybody left in the room probably knows
good with it. Let's roll.
that we're essentially putting a 20-foot servitude around retention and detention ponds in new development with a 20-foot access to where we can, the entity that's going to be over that, be it drainage district or the parish, will have access to those ponds, clear access to clean and maintain. So that's the gist of it. Could you read by
This
title?
will be proposed ordinance 22-23. This is an ordinance to amend chapter 125 subdivision regulations, Article 1 in general by amending Section 125-25I drainage impact study / drainage design requirements by adding additional detention pond requirements of the Code of Ordinances of Livingston Parish, and the public hearing will be on, the public hearing will be on June 9th. Yeah.
Yep.
That's fresh. I was like, oh, I didn't want to.
All right.
That was it.
No, the other one.
Nope,
we
got
the
introduced
other
the
one
other
We changed, where we changed everything to where it said detention. we
Got the
changed it
launch.
to
Okay,
detention,
so,
retention.
Slash, okay.
introduction, the amendments we made last night in discussion, where we wanted to clarify what a detention, because there's a difference between a detention and a retention pond. And to be clear, I was always confused on that. I thought it was just verbiage, but there is a clear difference, so we added both things in the language. So we have to introduce that by title, I guess.
Okay, this will be proposed ordinance 22-24. This is an ordinance to amend Chapter 125 Subdivision Regulations, Article 1 in general, amending Section 125-25 drainage impact study / drainage design requirements. Basin requirements of the Code of Ordinances of Livingston Parish and the public. It's June 6th, but it's the 9th.
June 9th.
At 6 p.m.
Right. That's it for ordinance? All right, finance.
Nothing to report, sir.
We put Chris to work tonight, so he can't use that one. Yeah. So district attorney report?
We don't,
Nothing to
that's all right.
report?
We don't even
All
have
right,
to.
nothing to report on district attorney?
We don't have
All
to.
right, before we get up here to the other ones, is there any councilman comments? None? No councilman comments?
Yes, one. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna be there. So Dole High School is gonna be going to the state championship, so let's wish them luck. Hope they win that thing. Anybody else schools going?
I don't have a school.
I think Dole beat Springfield out.
Yeah, but I wasn't for sure, so let's wish Dole the best of luck, okay? Thanks.
All right, so that does councilman comments. All right, now for all of the ordinances, we're going to open public hearing.
Really?
All right, this is for all the ordinances. We're going to open the public hearing. Did anybody have anything to comment on these right now?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we recess the public hearing to June the 9th. On all of them.
On all of them. So we're going to reset tonight.
Second it.
Seconded by Mr. Mack.
I think we need to do it tonight.
I'll have to read them for the public hearing.
12:30. I'm already
No,
here.
because we're just recessing until then. So, all right. So,
The reason, I know we gotta vote on this, so I wanna give you a reason. The reason is that we can use this extra time in the charter, in the moratorium, thank you. In a moratorium to make sure that we all in agreement and can make these where we can all live with them, okay?
Appreciate you, Randy.
We know we'll all be in agreement.
yeah, well,
Well, except for two.
as close as we
Except
can
for
get.
two.
All right, Ms. Sandy, call for a vote on that.
Wait, that's the.
This is to recess. Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes,
Mr.
yes.
Matt.
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Talbert.
That ain't no fun.
How you gonna vote? No, yes.
Keep going.
Mr. Harris. Mr. Gillette.
Yes.
Mr. McMorris.
Yes.
Mr. Wascom. Yes. Mr. Ard.
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Yes.
All right. So now I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Harris, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mack. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?